Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. We like to call it the Hump Day edition of the Rodcast, which means we're getting over the hump, headed downhill to the weekend, a weekend that gets us closer and closer to football season. That's right, folks. Beautiful thing. Of course, we're talking tons of football on the show. We'll get into some Texas football. We'll hear from a couple of the players. We'll hear from Malik Muhammad. Also hear from Vernon Broughton. We'll get into some of Hayden Connor was available at that player's availability. My man Patrick working hard for you. So we got some audio from the players. We'll dive into that. Talk some Texas football next segment. We'll also dive into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Tried to warn you guys that there was another receiver potentially that could be demanding essentially a new contract extension. We'll discuss it. And yes, that will have an effect if it happens. And a lot of people think the timeline of this contract extension could be accelerated. If that is the case, it will affect the CeeDee Lamb contract negotiations with the Dallas Cowboys. We'll dive into that coming up here in this segment. Also, this Tua Brian Flores story is worth discussing. Tua was on the Dan Le Batard show, I believe, and revealed some insight about his relationship with Brian Flores when he was the head coach there with the Miami Dolphins. And since Brian Flores has responded to that story that Tua told about his coaching style, if you will, which was some people thought more than a little off-putting. It was something that I think he was described as a terrible person by Tua, and we'll hear what Brian Flores has to say about that. So we'll get into that, of course. We also have Rod's rant of the day coming up a little bit later on. I'm recognizing a pattern, a trend with the officiating already in the preseason. We'll see if that carries over into the regular season. If it does, it could be a disastrous situation. We'll discuss that. We also will have all your usual favorites. We got the topic for the big fat poll of the day. Who said that? We got off the record. We got what the facts, what the stats. We are jam-packed. Before we introduce any of those topics, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew, because he's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It is our friend, co-host, and neighbor is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Ready to rock and roll. It is it's getting closer, Rod. It's getting closer.
It's right here, baby. Love it.
I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited for football games that I don't care that much about on Saturday, but they matter, which is nice. It's nice to get them matter.
Good to see. Yeah, exactly. Football games where something on the line. There you go.
We get a fun Astros. Get Justin Verlander back today. We'll see how he pitches today. It'll be a good day.
Mm-hmm. No, it's gonna be a good. Honestly, for the rest of, I think I'm gonna be good for the next 5 months or so. We're gonna be good because as long as the Longhorns are playing good, I think Longhorns are expected to be good. The Texans are expected good. I've never, as a football fan of the Longhorns and the Texans, had them good at the same time. Texans haven't been around that long, and they haven't been good very often either. But they're gonna be good or expected to be good, and the Longhorns are expected good. So I've never had a football season like this before.
That you're just Saturday and Sunday, you're excited.
There's no stress really. There's stress about the game watching it, but I don't expect my teams to be disasters. Like I'm not expecting the worst while I'm watching.
You wake up in the morning and you're like, let's go watch some football, as opposed to, all right, let's watch football. All right,
exactly. There you go. Yeah, there's a newfound enthusiasm as a spectator that I didn't have before. Yeah,
who always brings the enthusiasm in the morning. My co-host, he's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod Father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro as always, brother. Means a lot to me. And of course, my man Patrick always wears many hats. We'll get to the musically themed day of the week. That'll be revealed to you coming up at the end of this hour. And also we'll get to the big fat poll of the day. That also always a great conversation starter. We'll get to that too. But I do want to start off with some NFL topics early on. Oh, we can also discuss the, I believe we have now finalized the Texas men's basketball SEC schedule.
Yeah, I saw that it was coming out yesterday. I haven't really looked at it much, but I saw it was coming out yesterday.
We can break it down a little bit. At least we'll let you know where the rivals are. I think you care about where when they're going to play the Aggies and when they're going to play the Longhorns, Arkansas. Actually, Arkansas, that's going to be sexy now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it should be all right.
I'm just saying.
Eric Musselman, I think, went to USC, though, so the coach that was there, I think, left. I think.
Yeah.
But then they got Calipari,
But
so
that's
it'll
what I'm
be
saying. They got Calipari now, so it's like
it'll be
sexy storyline.
it'll be interesting. And then I think that Florida game, Florida, I believe, is the team that got the 7'9" kid from Canada.
There's a 7'9" recruit from Canada.
Yeah, I believe so.
7'9".
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So
all right.
So
can
there's
he move? Can he move?
That's the thing.
Or
Is I've seen some
highlights.
highlights.
Just 7'9".
Yeah.
Either way, it's
I don't
impressive.
know how good he's going to be, but I'm interested to see it.
I want to see it too. That's I did not know that. Okay.
I believe his name is Oliver Rue. I believe his name is Oliver Rue.
Out. No, I'm
from the stuff I've seen. I've not seen a lot about it. I've not gone fully into college basketball yet.
Especially SEC. As all of us are going to be, kind of, depending on what your sport is, learning new opponents and learning kind of the new culture and ecosystem. Because Big 12, I'm sure Patrick could break it down any time of the year about Big 12 teams and matchups and stuff like that. Be keeping current. The SEC, it is a little different because it's a new. Well, it's a new ecosystem altogether.
And that's the you get done with the NBA season. We see that we get the Mavs to the finals. A lot of fun to watch. And then I keep up with the Spurs and I kept up with the draft. And then there was and then there's the Olympics and you watch teams. That. But I've kept up with the Longhorns. I've not kept up with the rest of college basketball enough during this because we've been getting ready for football.
Football season. Exactly. So we've been getting to know the football teams in the SEC. It's going to be a whole other thing getting to know the basketball teams, the women's basketball. For men, actually, I think a lot of Longhorn fans feel confident that you're not going to be dealing with the hellscape that was the Big 12 schedule. No matter what the SEC presents to you, I mean, it would be essentially like Texas. If Texas was going from SEC football to Big 12 football, you'd have a relief. You'd be like, oh, okay, all right. No matter what
we get a couple. Like there's some tough games, and there will be tough opponents. But at the same part, you do get a few nights where you feel like, look, as long as you just play good basketball, you should be able to win this. As opposed to, man, if you're not ready for a fight every single night that you go out there in the court, then that team is just going to find a way to wear you down. And there were so many, that was the Rick Barnes back in the day, which now you're going to play Rick Barnes again. But
that's what I said. It seems to be randomly, though, some really cool storylines for the Texas men's basketball. And by the way, the women, let's just say competitive league, period. So that is a different, to me, that's a different narrative and different discussion because they actually are going into a league just as competitive, not more competitive. Same thing with Texas football. Texas men's basketball, a little different, but you do have, I think, some very kind of sexy standout storylines. Yeah. Like you talked about with Arkansas and I definitely Rick Barnes, I forgot about that one.
I definitely think the SEC is the more competitive when you look at it. Oklahoma's been competitive in women's basketball, but they come with you. When Kim Mulkey went from Baylor to LSU, that kind of shifts the power of women's basketball a lot.
You got Dawn Staley.
And it's just they already had good schools there. and then you had Kim Mulkey go over, and then now Texas and Oklahoma, that the power has shifted over to the SEC in women's basketball a lot.
And then we know baseball. I mean, that's
it's another one. Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly. So, no doubt, everybody's excited about the new era of Texas sports in the SEC, and I believe the first action was like went with soccer. I believe.
Did we have a soccer game already? No,
I want to say they had to say Texas won. I want to say that the official first sporting event, if I'm not mistaken, was soccer. And Texas won in the SEC. If I'm off about that, let me know. I'm sure CB will call me out if I am. All right. All right. Let's get to some NFL discussion. I want to start off with this story about Jamar Chase, and we'll get into that too after we get into the Horn headlines, because I think that could, if it happens quickly, a lot of people are saying it might, Adam Schefter included, who's the ultimate insider, it's going to have a direct impact on the CeeDee Lamb contract negotiations. So we'll talk about that here coming up here in the first segment. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros lost to the Red Sox 6-5 last night. Both pitchers struggled to get going, allowing 3 runs each in the first inning. Yandy Diaz hit a game-tying homer in the 5th inning, but Jarren Duran hit the go-ahead shot in the 8th, and the Red Sox held on to even the series at 1 apiece. The Astros do get good news as Justin Verlander will return today, starting the game for Houston for the first time since early June when he was placed on the IL dealing with a neck injury, while Alex Bregman can make his return to the lineup as well as DH. And the Rangers dropped their second game against the Pirates 4-0. Cody Bradford pitched 7 innings, giving up 3 and striking out 8, but the Rangers offense could never get going, only getting 3 hits in the game. The Rangers look to take the series in the rubber match today with Andrew Haney getting the start. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. All right, we've been talking about this for a while. I feel like we were pointing it out before it became, a more talked about trend, but the wide receiver market, of course, now is in full in full inflation mode. I mean, it has ballooned and exploded as of late. This offseason alone, you had Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Pittman, CeeDee Lamb's gonna get his at one point. So is Brandon Ayuk. Amari Cooper already got his. T. Higgins is another guy that's probably gonna get a contract. But before T. Higgins gets his, a lot of people are wondering about Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar Chase is a different situation with the Bengals because he's got 2 years left on his deal right now, but he is, as we all agree, grossly underpaid considering his performance and considering his production and where he ranks among the elite wide receivers. And he ain't willing to wait. It's kind of like when Zeke decided to hold out with the Cowboys, like, nah, I'm not waiting. I'm skipping the line.
Skipping the line.
I think I'm skipping the line, guys. And what you going to do about it? And this thing is, what do you do when somebody skips the line? Have you ever been in this society with something where this happens in real life?
Yeah.
Where you see somebody actually skip the line? Most people don't do anything. Most people decide, man, you just declare them an a-hole in your mind and go, okay, this person obviously doesn't understand civility and the kind of unwritten rules of society and skip the line. It is very rude. People skip the line. All right. And it's not worth it really to call them out when they skip the line, but every now and then you'll see it. I don't like it. It's something that bothers me. All right.
And it is also very annoying because they normally do it with a smile and this way of like,
oh yeah,
I know what I'm doing. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. And you're like, whoa. We all know what's happening.
we all see it.
Just walk in, flipping the double birds at us.
Tom Herman style.
You guys don't matter. And step in front of us. And then we can at least be like, well, he's an a-hole. We get it.
Exactly. Then everybody would know except we try to play it off. Yes, trust me. Anyway, skipping the line. Not cool. Teach kids. Don't skip the line. All right. All right. But anyway, he wants to skip the line. He wants to get paid before his time. Usually you got a year left on that deal. So Adam Schefter, he was on, I believe, NFL Live, but he was definitely on ESPN when he talked about this. And I've been on the record saying it was going to happen. I was like, nah, that Jamar Chase is about to get paid, even though it was 2 years early. When we started talking about the wide receiver value and the wide receiver market exploding, I said Jamar Chase is about to get on that train, guys. Why would you miss it? Why would you let it cool off? You're a top 5 receiver. You gonna let the wide receiver market cool off when you got guys getting $30 million? Nope. That's it. That would be stupid by his agent. It's too hot right now, and it could cool off at any time. Yeah. It could cool off. Some team could reset it with some deal to Brandon Ayuk or CeeDee Lamb. No. You can't allow that to happen. Right now, it is exploding. You need to jump on that train right now. Ride it all the way to a $30+ million deal. And for the Bengals, it's different because you don't have an owner who likes to make it rain. You got the only owner in the NFL who is not officially a billionaire. Only majority owner that's not a billionaire. So he don't like to make it rain.
No, and he is historically extremely cheap.
Yeah, but if I wasn't a billionaire, I'd be cheap too. Like, listen, guys, I don't have the billion by me now, okay? I'm still in the millions. I'm a multi-million. I'm 100 millionaire, but still, when we talk about guaranteed money and the money you got to put aside when you guarantee a certain amount of contracts, if it's a lot for Jerry Jones, it's definitely a lot for, what's his name? Yeah, for Brown family.
Mike Taylor, is it? Or something Taylor?
Yeah, I got to go find out. It may have switched over. I will check it out. But their ownership.
But yeah. But and then, like, you remember the Carson Palmer thing with the Bengals?
That got ugly.
Where he basically retired because he was like, well, you guys aren't going to pay me, and I'm not going to hold out. He retired until they traded him, and then he played for several more years.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's Mike Brown.
Mike Brown.
Yeah, his son, Mike Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike Brown. Yeah. But no, you're right. That's how ugly it got. And that was a franchise quarterback. They let it get ugly with. So I don't know how this thing. So the reports are Jamar Chase was holding in and then started to hold out and is now holding in. It's all over the place. And the details are sketchy, but the belief is that Jamar Chase is unhappy with his contract status. And he's not like Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk loves to talk to the media, loves to go on social media. So you know the status of the Brandon Ayuk thing, like, oh, he's unhappy. He's not happy at all. We don't know how disgruntled Jamar Chase is because we don't see a lot of, media. We don't see a lot of interviews with the media. We don't see a lot of quotes from him either. He's just decided to go, kind of dark in terms of the communication about his contract status. So that also adds to the uncertainty. And then on top of that, like I said, the owner has already come out publicly, and Patrick mentioned this earlier this year and said, 2 years left on the deal. We're not really interested right now. That's not a top priority for us.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much time left on the deal. Also, they have a new OC. Also a kind of underrated storyline there in Cincinnati. They got a new OC. I'll give you his name here in just a second. But let's hear from Adam Schefter, because Adam Schefter now is starting to report that this thing is heating up between Jamar Chase and the Bengals. And like I said, this will have a direct impact on CeeDee Lamb's contract negotiation if this thing happens quickly. And there's some that believe, including a famous, iconic Cincinnati Bengal wide receiver, Chad Ochocinco, that believes it's going to happen potentially this week. Here it is.
I think right now, this is the one that to me remains the most mysterious, because unlike Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase has 2 years left on his contract, not one, like those other players. And we've already heard the Bengals president, Mike Brown, come out and say that he would prefer to wait to do this deal. Now, I think Cincinnati still will push to get this deal done, but from my understanding, there hasn't been a whole lot of progress. And if there's not a whole lot of progress, you wonder what's next. Now, Chad Ochocinco, the former Bengals great wide receiver, said over the weekend he thinks the two sides will figure out a deal this week. But he also added that if the two sides can't get a deal done, he does not believe that Jamar Chase will step foot on a football field again until he has a new contract. And I think there are other people around the league who feel the same way about that particular situation that I think has flown a little bit under the radar.
All right. So I don't know how much Ochocinco knows, or if he's just throwing blank at the wall and seeing if it sticks, but he believes they're going to try to get a deal done this week. It's only smart if you're an organization and you got a receiver like Jamar Chase to get the deal done early. You don't want to deal with what the Cowboys are dealing with right now. Nobody does. The guy's going to get top of the market receiver money. Sign him now. Get it done. He'll make 30 million, 30 plus million. Hell, he probably wants 35 million. Let's be honest. He probably wants Justin Jefferson money. It's former teammates. So they probably texted each other. He wants that Justin Jefferson money. And I think CeeDee Lamb also wants the Jefferson money. And it's hard to argue that either one of those guys don't deserve it. It really is. If you're talking about the difference in average annual value, you'll be talking about $2 million per year. The Cowboys will be at least at $33 million for CeeDee. And Jamar Chase is going to get there too. The question is, does Jamar Chase now get his deal done before CeeDee? And if it does, then it gives CeeDee even more leverage, because I think if Jamar Chase gets his deal done, they're just going to give him the Justin Jefferson deal for the most part. Not everything, but I think a lot of it. He's going to get that deal because they're going to decide, and I think it's a smart move to lock him up. He's Joe Burrow's favorite target. He's clearly their wide receiver one. And the sooner you sign these wide receivers, the better. I brought up the stat a couple of months ago that before this offseason, before the offseason of the wide receiver, you had 0 wide receivers over $75 million guaranteed in their contracts, and now you got 4 of them. you had only 1 wide receiver making 30 or more million dollars a year, and now there are 4, and there soon will be Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamar Chase. There soon will be 7. Prior to this offseason, that was just 1. And the fact that Jerry Jones waited, that to me means you lost a whole lot of value in this negotiation. But think about this, guys. By the end of this season, this training camp, I should say, by the time the season starts, roll over into the season, the Jamar Chase one and the CeeDee Lamb look like when it will too. You'll have 7 wide receivers potentially making at least $30 million a year. You only have 2 other players that are non-quarterbacks in the NFL making 30 plus million, and you'll have 7 wide receivers. Officially, more wide receivers in the NFL now make at least $20 million a year than quarterbacks. It is far and away easily the second most important position. The sooner you sign, the better. Remember we talked about the Nico Collins deal for the Texans? That Nico Collins deal, when he signed it, I believe at the time he signed that deal, he was like top 6 wide receivers, and now he's like, I think he's outside, red number 10 or outside the top 10 already. And when was that deal signed? Like 3 months ago, maybe
something like that. Yeah, and I mean,
2 months ago.
And that's still with 3 more wide receivers to get paid more than
him. Yeah. I mean, and that deal looks great now. That Nico Collins deal. So I don't understand what like I said, the Cowboys. I don't know what they're waiting on. Also, the Bengals. I know why they're waiting. 2 years left on your deal. That's standard practice. Usually you wait, but it seems like Jamar Chase is he's going to pull a Zeke, and he's going to skip the line, and he's going to take advantage of this red hot wide receiver market. I think that's ultimately what he wants to do. And it's a smart move. It's a smart move by him. All right, so that could affect. And by the way, speaking of these holdouts, and this comes from Jane Slater. She does a great job. Said 2009 was the last time a wide receiver held out deep into the season. She says the last time was rookie Michael Crabtree. He held out for 69 days. And that was the last time. Didn't sign until October 7th and still led San Francisco wide receivers that year receiving. She said before that, you had to go into 1998. Joey Galloway, she says, held out for the first 8 weeks of the season, and then still finished 6th in the NFL in receiving touchdowns. Ironically, traded to the Cowboys a couple of years later. And we're 19 days away from game 1. Seems like right now this is going to go into the season unless the Cowboys, they decide, all right, you know what, enough of it. We're going to sign CD right now. Deadline to make deals. But I think you're going into the season with this thing.
I mean, it seems weird because, Jerry came out again now and said we had good conversations and I think it'll get done. And then all of the reports you hear from CD's camp are basically like, they're not changing anything. They just keep sending us the same deals that we don't want. And we're not really making progress. We haven't made progress in a long time. We've had some good talks. Like, what are you talking about? How is it taking this long?
What's the holdup, Jerry? What's the holdup? I don't know. Other than it's got to be guaranteed money. I think it's cash in the deal.
I think again, there's 3 main factors that you look at in there, which is yearly salary, cash up front, signing bonus, and then guaranteed money. Those are your 3 main things you're looking for in a contract. And it feels like on the CD camp, they said all 3 were low. And normally to get a deal done, you're going to have to get to 2, at least 1.5. You're at least going to have to meet them halfway and get one pretty close and then exceed one.
Exceed another.
Jerry wants to win. And I mean, when I say that, Jerry wants to win the negotiation, not the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But then he loses these though all the time. He lost to Zeke.
He does lose them all the time.
He lost the Zeke deal. Emmett famously he lost that one. Emmett went into the season with his holdout. The Zach Martin one, remember Zach Martin held out? Zach Martin got his money. DeMarcus Lawrence ended up getting paid when DeMarcus Lawrence threatened that, he wanted out. I don't know if he's winning these negotiations at all. I think he likes the headlines of the discussion about the Cowboys and them getting a lot of publicity from it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know right now if, like I said, if this Jamar Chase deal gets done, and I guess he wouldn't. If you're going to give CD 35 and he gets 35, I guess you don't lose too much value because the ceiling is still the ceiling. It's 35. Right now. And I don't know if Jamar Chase would exceed that, especially with the Bengals paying. So I don't know if that's going to happen. So maybe there is no urgency. In terms of,
with 2 years left on the deal.
2 years left on the deal. Yeah, exactly. So you'll still get, those 2 years at a discount, but then when that new contract kicks in, I just think for the Cowboys and I think for the Bengals too, smartly, just get it. The sooner you can get it done, the better.
Yeah. And I think the 49ers are still in that conversation too.
Yeah. It's not slowing. God, the wide receiver market's not slowing down at all.
No.
It's not stopping. I don't understand why is somebody going to reset this wide receiver market? Is that what they're trying to do?
And I don't know if they're all talking to each other trying to reset it. I don't know if there's a point of they're hoping that it'll be reset. But if you're one of these teams and you say I'm not going to match this, we're not, then at least be taking phone calls for trades. At least be working on the other end of it.
You would think. At least the 49ers did that though.
The 49ers did. But that's also how many Super Bowls have the 49ers been to over the last? I know they won't, but they've been there, right? Because they're running a franchise. And
exactly. You're right about that. That's a good point. Yeah, because they're the only ones who like, all right, you know what? Essentially they seem like they're following the rational like steps involved. Let's try to sign him. He doesn't want to sign. We can't sign him. Okay. Do you want to? Can we trade you? All right, let's try to trade him. And can we get somebody to meet our trade demands and then meet his contract demands? They couldn't get that. They couldn't get somebody to do both.
Yeah.
So they brought him back in, and now it seems like they're close to signing a deal with Brandon Ayuk, which, I thought the 49ers would, be a team that decided, no, we'd rather move on, but they're not. And I think that's because of their window. They're different than the Cowboys too, because they believe, all right, you know what, we can't lose Brandon Ayuk with the way that the Kansas City Chiefs, who that's their standard right now. All right, we got to beat them. With the way that they are building, especially on offense now with the wide receiver position, it seems the Chiefs are not regressing. And you can't afford a regression because you couldn't even beat them last year. Honestly, we can argue they may have been one of the worst Kansas City teams that we've seen.
Offensively,
so far, Patrick Mahomes.
Offensively.
Right, that was like one of the worst ones. Now, it look like they're going to be high octane again. Like, that was actually one of the worst versions. Now, defensively, you're right. Defensively, they were some studs. Like, defensively, that was one of your better versions of that Kansas City defense since Mahomes has been there. But offensively, it was not. And I think for San Fran, that is probably incentivizing them. Hey, we got to sign Ayuk. We cannot afford to take because even remember last year, they started to look shaky offensively, even in the playoffs.
They did, but I mean, they put up points against.
They did.
Against Kansas City until the end.
No. Yeah, everybody says that until the end, and then Patrick Mahomes pulls out the cape on you, and then what is done is done. All right, there you go. So potentially there's another wide receiver that could affect the wide receiver market that CeeDee Lamb's trying to top at this point. All right, we'll get to that Brian Flores story because Brian Flores responded to the Tua story and the Tua interview he had with Dan Le Batard, where essentially he's calling Brian Flores a terrible person. So we'll get to that and talk about coaching styles a little bit because I think that's basically what it is. And some advice that I've given you guys time and time again about coaches like Brian Flores. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So it's not a racist thing or anything like that. It's more about it's coaching style. So what y'all think that. But remember, Brian, that was a flustercluck there. Remember at Miami because
he was getting
the owner
pushed out because they wanted
Tom Brady. This is the Tom Brady thing, right?
Yes.
This is all that. Yes.
Yeah, that he had the meeting on the yacht. That Brian Flores said there was a meeting on a yacht.
Yes.
With an unnamed quarterback that was supposed to be brought in, and then all these things were happening.
And they were going to bring a head coach in basically with him. Was that Sean Payton?
I think it was Brian Flores, but Brian Flores said that he didn't agree to do it because he knew it was tampering. Because the other guy was still under contract. So he said he wouldn't do it. And then they went to the Sean Payton thing that they were going to try and get him in.
Yeah, with Brady. Remember, Brady was going to be a Jackie Moon.
Yes, part owner.
Now it's part owner. That was a good part of the deal. That's a really shady deal. Part owner / starting quarterback. Oh, why didn't that happen? Damn it! I guess he still ended up going to a Florida team and winning the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
just the way to Brady. But I will say that, remember, if I'm not mistaken, you remember who blew the lid on that thing? It was Belichick.
Yeah,
remember, it was Belichick in the mistaken text.
Oh yeah,
he thought they was talking to the other Brian. Remember, he thought it was Brian Dable and then Brian Flores, and both of them were dealing with contract and job opportunities.
They were both up for the Giants job.
Yes, and he was like, I'm sorry, I congratulate the wrong Brian. I got, you know what I mean? It was like, no, Belichick knew in my division, potentially I'm going to have Brady to play up against and potentially either Brian Flores or a Sean Payton. No. I'm going to let everybody know there was some shady stuff going on there, and we're going to put the kibosh on it. And I remember that's how initially people started suspecting something was going on. It all started with a Belichick text congratulating the wrong Brian.
Yeah, boy. Bill Belichick just running everything.
Love it. That's fantastic. Yeah. So anyway, that was a shady, and then they got docked, I believe, a first round pick,
and the owner couldn't be around it for a year or something. And
it was serious. That was serious. So Brian Flores was a part of that. So there was a lot of issues going on, a lot of dysfunction going on.
And that was also that between that and the Patrick Mahomes when they made the rule that you couldn't have players get ownership.
Yes. I think that was you're right because that was before. I think between that, knowing that Brady was discussing it, and then the Lionel Messi deal that he had with MLS, right, for like his revenue sharing deal and all that, which was unprecedented. And then, if I'm not mistaken, there was the report that Caleb Williams people apparently something that was brought up when he talked to teams too, that he was like, hey, what about, some minority ownership? What about a 1% share or whatever of the team? And so I think, but based on those kind of three, examples, NFL worked quickly and they unanimously voted.
Well, and that was also,
like,
and then
it was
Patrick Mahomes
overnight
also
that nobody could own share of no player could own a share of
and
the
then
team.
Patrick Mahomes bought ownership in like 2 other sports franchises in Kansas City.
Yep.
And then the owner of the Chiefs was like, hey, we should pass this rule, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he was the one who brought it up.
Well, I think, because he knows that the only quarterback that would have a case
exactly
would be Patrick Mahomes.
No,
exactly. And if Patrick Mahomes ever wanted to hold out and said, yeah, you know what, the money's not enough, I won't part ownership.
Yeah.
The owner needs to be in a place where he could say, I would do it if I could. But I can't.
I would do
My
it. My
hands are tied.
My hands are tied because of a rule that I suggested.
At the time, I didn't think it would come back to bite me, Patrick. But damn it, I wish I could change it, but I can't. So how about you take this $100 million?
By the way, Patrick, we're gonna need you to help us move to another state real quick. We're gonna
we need you to help us get a new stadium in another state, please, because we can't get the taxpayer dollars. They don't like me. And they like you though. They love you. Why don't you go ask for it? No, it really is. That's a great.
That new locker room is coming next year, Patrick. It's coming next year.
Yeah, and then the players themselves in the players survey voted their owner basically the worst owner in the NFL.
An F minus.
They're about to win 3 straight Super Bowls, and they voted their ownership to get basically an F. Their ownership is the worst ownership in the NFL. Wow. That's fun. I mean, the irony is all over the place. It's just boom, boom, boom. All right, let's get back to it. We'll get to that Brian Flores story. I promise you. We don't have I want to play some of the audio. I want to play the initial audio from Tua. And then I want to play the response from Brian Flores and talk about that. So we'll do that coming up later on the show. Coming up next, though, let's talk some Texas football. Let's go behind the burnt orange curtain, courtesy of my man Patrick here from the player availability yesterday. We got 3 players. We're going to hear from Vernon Broughton. We're going to hear from Hayden Connor and Malik Muhammad. So one of the DBs, some good stuff there from those guys talking about the team. We'll come back and get into that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas football. Had a player availability yesterday with Vernon Broughton, Malik Muhammad, and Hayden Connor. So you got a little mix of offense and defense there. We're going to start on the defensive side of the ball with Vernon Broughton and hear from him. Vernon Broughton, he also was asked about missing the spring game because of a wedding. His wedding. He got married, and and some people were like, how can he miss the spring game? Guys, I mean, I just got done planning a wedding a couple years ago. Dude, that wedding planning takes like a year and a half. Like, it's like a year in the making or more. So that spring game, they announced that, a few months before
Yeah.
you get the date and the time of spring game. Dude, when you and wife have already planned and sent out invitations to people for a wedding, and then your coach says, oh, no, the spring game is going to be on the day of the wedding. Dude, your coach, every married man on that staff gets to go like, oh, you good, bro. You good.
Right. Senior, good. We got it.
Yeah, you're good. We get it, man. You don't want to start off like that. You don't want to, trust me, if you start off having to reschedule your wedding that your wife helped plan for a year for a spring game, you might as well get them divorce papers ready to roll. You might as well get that prenup ready to go because that marriage ain't lasting. You ain't got a shot. You're gonna start off a marriage with spite. No way, man. So smart move by you, Vernon Broughton. Okay, can we start with that cut actually? Because he was asked about it. I believe it's 16. He's asked about skipping the spring game because he had to get married. Here's the wise Vernon Broughton.
Yes, I did. I got married in Dallas, Texas to my beautiful wife, Camille Broughton, which I love dearly, but yes.
Talk about what kind of went into that decision. I know that was kind of one of the big talking points around that.
Yeah, so
congratulations.
Appreciate it. Before spring, I was planning to get married to my beautiful wife, Camille, after the spring game, but 2 months in advance before they announced the spring game, we didn't obviously I didn't know, but we was planning on to have the wedding after the spring game then, but yeah, so which is good, which is crazy, but
that was a business decision. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And she's gonna kick my butt if I went to that spring game. So yeah, exactly.
See, every man is like, yeah, we get it, bro. You good? You ain't gotta explain it. I was people like, I wonder if the coaches are upset. I'm like, coach is upset. As long as the coach is married, he's good. Like the coach already gets it. Like, bro, I know you had.
I guarantee you, all those coaches already got invites because they wanted the gifts.
Yes, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, because I never knew anybody who got married in college that was a teammate of mine. So you're right. Probably now you probably do invite the coaches.
Yeah, so they had the invite. So they were like, hey, spring game set, and he's like, look at that invitation I sent you. Oh no.
Just send your gift, coach. It's okay.
It's okay.
So congratulations to Vernon Broughton. That's cool, man. Good for him. All right, so let's start off with him talking about, I love this cut, the difference between the new D-line coach, Kenny Baker, and the old D-line coach, who some called even Sark the best D-line coach in America, in Bo Davis, who's now back at LSU. He was asked about what's the biggest difference between the two. Here's Vernon Broughton.
Coach Baker, I'll say he's not as I'll say he's more technical. I'll say hands, footwork, he's more technical. He never lets that give out, but I say technical. He's more technical in the case. So
I think he was getting ready to say something about Bo Davis and was like, nah, you know what? Let me just stick to the Kenny Baker thing here.
Was he going to make a Tua clip?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to be Tua, but we know how intense Bo Davis is. Everybody does. And I just wondered if he was about to make a reference. He's like, you know what? Not even worth it. Let's just stick with Kenny Baker on this. So he was asked to get into some specifics about the example. Give me an example of that, that technical, that meticulous technical coaching that Kenny Baker utilizes. Here is Vernon Broughton.
Yes. I say footwork, let's say I'm a 3-tech and I stop. I'm a right 3-tech and I step with my left foot first. He will coach all that. If my hand's not in his chest or outside the pad, he coaches all that, which I love because I needed that. And that's improved my game so much. And I appreciate him for that. But yeah.
There's a difference, though, because I remember having coaches. There's some coaches, they're kind of just broad strokes coaches. They're like, I need you to be inside. Get inside leverage. And as long as you're inside leverage, they're not going to bust your you know what on how you got there and your footwork to get there and your hand placement and where your hips are. They're like, nope, you got inside leverage, you're good. And there's some coaches, they're almost like the math teacher want you to show your work. They're like, well, it's not enough for you to be inside. I need to see the proper footwork. I need to see the proper hand placement when you do all that. And so I've actually had both those coaches, and it's not saying one coach is better than the other. It's just a different style. And something tells me Bo Davis is more of a broad strokes. Get here. If as long as you do that, accomplish and achieve the goal or whatever your responsibility is, as long as you take care of that, then we're good. I'm not going to bust you know what on exactly how it got done for you to show me your work. I don't need all that.
Which makes sense, because if you look at guys like just last season, the difference between Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat with a lot of things. You'd be like, look, they both got the job done, but it wasn't. But it wasn't like you watched it and their feet moved together in unison. And you saw
that's a great point.
A bit more that they both had different techniques, but they were both very effective.
And I think it's fair to say that, and this in every sport, right? Some coaches are just great motivators. Fair to say that Bo Davis might have been a really good motivator, motivated by fear, but we remember the speech and everything. And Bo Davis got a certain style about him, and I bet that's different than Kenny Baker too. So that's good stuff from Vernon Bryant. All right, let's jump to Malik Muhammad in the secondary here. First thing when he was asked about was the pass defense, of course, right? Because last year that was the biggest liability on defense for Texas was pass defense. You could argue that's why they lost the 2 games they lost last year to Washington and Oklahoma. Here is Malik Muhammad discussing the pass defense and its improvement.
I'll say we focusing more in on the details. We got our D-line straight. Man, I feel like we got a great defense this year, but mainly honing in on the details.
All right, becoming a more detail-oriented secondary, and part of that detail is going to focus on tackling. I've heard PK talk about it, and it seems like now that is definitely going to be an emphasis for the back seven, specifically the secondary, is no yak yards, right? No run after the catch yards. They want to limit those explosive plays, tackle guys as soon as they catch the football. So here is Malik Muhammad discussing the priority this offseason on tackling.
Yes, definitely. That was one of the details that we focused in on. Definitely tackling. Getting our drops right, just knowing our opponents, and just playing together and communicating.
And he's going to be communicating with Jahdae Barron in that secondary, who's going to be one of the elder statesmen in that group. And Malik Muhammad expected to really take a leap this year as kind of the coverage specialist in that secondary. But here's him talking about what makes Jahdae Barron so special and their relationship so special.
And we got a great coach, Terry Joseph. Me and Jahdae are like 2 savvy players, so like we just know like how to play with each other, how to piggyback off each other, how to play with the safeties, how to communicate with the linebackers, and just play together as a whole defense.
Be hive-minded is kind of what Coach Akina used to refer to it as. Everybody thinking along the same line, seeing the same things and thinking the same things in the secondary. One of the guys in the secondary that's probably gotten the most pub and the most hype has been Jalen Gilbo, because he's getting reps with the first team nickel since the start of training camp. And it seems to be more than just an experiment. Seems like it is something now that is going to be a part of the defense that we see during the season. Gilbo at the nickel spot. Here is Malik Muhammad discussing his ascent in that defensive backfield.
Gilbo, heck of a player. He played a big role in this defense along with everybody else. But yeah, Gilbo, he had a great training camp.
I think they're just trying to figure out how to get their best guys on the field, and putting Gilbo at nickel means you can move around Jahdae Barron, and maybe that's a way where you can just try to get all your best players on the field. And nothing against the other corner opposite Malik Muhammad, but I think if you're going to put Jahdae Barron somewhere, if you believe that Gilbo is a better player at nickel than Gavin Holmes is at that corner, then why not upgrade the corner by putting Jahdae Barron out there, and you just have better players and the talent upgrade across the board. I think that's where they're going, but that's interesting that he brings that up. Okay, so let's hear him talk about the pass rush. All right, the pass rush for the Longhorns this year is supposed to be ratcheted up, right? Especially with the the depth you have at the edge defenders. You have BGO, you got speed on the outside with Trey Moore, and obviously guys like Colin Simmons being brought in. But Ethan Burke's going to take his, I think he's supposed to take a leap this year. Baron Sherrill's look great. So here is Manny Muhammad, and I know this too, talking about how a pass rush can really help coverage in the secondary.
You can say that.
Yeah.
You can say that, yeah.
What's kind of the complementary aspect of having a pass rush that could get to the quarterback, make your life a little bit easier there?
I mean, yeah, with the guys we brought in, like Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, we got Barron, we got Ethan Burke, Binkley. Those guys have been doing a great job getting to the football. And I actually have felt that in these past scrimmages.
All right, so pass rush is getting better. That seems to be one of the common themes in training camp so far. Another one is Silas Bowden. Every time you ask players about Silas Bowden, they seem to reiterate and echo the same sentiment that he's a playmaker. He makes a lot of those wild plays. Here's Malik Muhammad when he's asked about what Silas Bowden brings to the table.
You better not miss. He got jets. He will go to the house. You better not miss.
Have you seen it as example when someone has missed or what has happened?
I don't really want to speak on it, but I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
He doesn't. He's not a loose lips guy. He was asked several times about things like the players only meeting. He's like, I can't speak on that. I kind of like that about him. He's like, now certain things I'm just not gonna speak on.
I'm not gonna throw my teammate under the bus.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna be. Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you who got smoked. That's my guy, and I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. But yes, it has happened.
I would just say it wasn't me. That's what I'd be like. It wasn't me. That's all I know. All right, let's jump to Hayden Connor here. Hayden Connor, I like this cut because he was asked about the Joe Moore Award given annually to the best offensive line in college football. And he's asked Hayden Connor. He was asked if that's something that's top of mind for you guys.
For sure, yeah. We've got all the requirements to make the Joe Moore in our wall when we leave, so we always slap it on the way out. So it's something we think about for sure.
There you go. I like that. It's top of mind. We talked about that too. They got to lower that sack number. That sacks allowed per game needs to come down to 1 or fewer per game. They do that, they'll definitely be in that Joe Moore Award conversation. Sarks has started to use the old saying on the 40 acres that the standard is the standard. It's starting to come back. Hayden Connor was asked about the standard. What is that standard?
Exactly what Malik said. It's accountability, discipline, toughness, and commitment all the time. All the time.
All right. I like that. Yeah. Toughness, accountability, toughness, and getting better. That's basically what it is. Improvement. I like that.
All the time.
That's good stuff. All the time. All right. The next cut. Can we go to cut 43 here about his communication on the O-line? I like that, though, about the standard. Here is Caden Connor talking about what is really important on that O-line that these guys are able to communicate. And I like this Kyle Flood saying that he drops.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if we go out there and we all play with 5 set of eyes, we're gonna screw up. We're not gonna play well. So Flood always preaches, 5 guys playing with 1 set of eyes. Right. So if we go out there and we've got a call and 2 dudes think it's a different call, then we're not on the same page and it's not going to be good. So playing with the same set of eyes and trusting that the dude next to me is going to do the right.
Yeah, I like that. That 5 guys, 1 set of eyes. You can use that in the secondary. You can use that in a lot of different places. All right, last cut here is him talking about the offensive line depth, which has been right now is as good as it's been since the early mid 2000s potentially. Here's Hayden Connor talking about the depth on the O-line.
Yeah, we're deep, but in terms of depth chart, you're gonna have to ask coach about that.
In terms of just having those bodies there, how valuable is that for the offense?
Oh, it's extremely valuable. Anything could happen. Someone has to be ready to play, and we're not going to miss a beat if someone has to come in who hasn't necessarily played as much. But we're deep, we're really talented, and we're gonna be ready.
There you go. So it's Hayden Connor talking about the offensive line. Thanks to my man Patrick for pulling that audio. We come back. Speaking of Patrick, he'll give us the topic for the Big Fat Poll today and introduce the musically themed day of the week. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the Horn.
Back here on the Rodcast on a Wednesday morning. That means it's a one artist Wednesday where I'll play you songs all from one band or artist all show long. And today it is Led Zeppelin, playing Led Zeppelin. It is or was Robert Plant's birthday, the singer Led Zeppelin, yesterday. So we're playing Led Zeppelin all show long. This is one of the harder ones I've had to do of trying to whittle down to the amount of songs I have. I'm going one per record in chronological order is what I'm trying to do. And there's not enough time for all the records and everything I can put in there, but I'm trying to go one per record. So we're going to miss a lot of everybody's favorite Zeppelin, but we'll get to some good ones here on a one artist Wednesday. Let's get the big fat poll today. Text line's open. 512-447-3776 is the text line number, and you will put this posted up on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
I was speaking with some of my friends, maybe of the degenerate variety, and talking about some future bets and looking at some NFL teams about their over-unders for the season and where I thought teams were going to be. And the question came up of teams that were overrated and you felt their number was a bit inflated and that win-loss you weren't sure. So I thought I'd ask you guys, and I would poll you guys and ask you, and we'll start with the AFC today. Maybe we'll go to the NFC tomorrow. We'll see what we do. Which team in the AFC is the most overrated going into the season? Now, all these teams are basically around a 10-win projection. So I took all teams that are around a 10-win projection for this poll. I have the New York Jets, the Houston Texans, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Miami Dolphins. As four teams in the AFC that I could see people believing these are not 10-win teams. One of these could not be a 10-win team. One of these is an overrated. 10 wins is too much for that team. I could see somebody predicting that for one of these teams that maybe they're a bit overrated, and this is about a 500 team and not a 10-win team.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith right now in the Jets, but I know they've added to that O-line now. They brought in basically an entire new O-line because that was the issue last season. So it may not be as big of an issue. Man, Aaron Rodgers, does he pick up, kind of where he left off? We haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play football in a while, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like it's been a while since we've seen him play effective football. That's the one that stands out, but
we
that
know
can be tough. In that division, Miami Dolphins coming up, the Bills, they might take a step back, but still a tough division. It's not easy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I could have put the Bills on there. They were right around that conversation too, but I know a lot of people, with talking about Tua, there's a lot of conversation that maybe there's some guys that are a little bit overranked and that, they had to finally get rid of a couple players on that defense as well because their salary cap issues. So maybe the defense won't be as good, and can the offense completely carry this team running speed? That's a big question. I've read a lot of places that people feel that Baltimore is not going to be able to hang on being a top team in the AFC, that they're going to have a little bit of regression this season. It may slide back down. A very tough division. One of the big stats you'll see is they led the NFL in turnover ratio last year. And if you have that lead in
turnover luck is one of those things. Yeah, it usually fluctuates. Yes,
and so that's one where if you look at teams that regress, if you lead the NFL in turnover in the positive turnover margin, sometimes you'll go, well, that's an easy one that could flip on you, and all of a sudden you have a couple more fumbles and you don't get those turnovers back the other way, and that's 3 games, especially in that division.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. That's like that in like one-score games, those stats that they don't consistently stay year to year. Yeah.
And then Houston, people are still, I get it's a 1 year they played really, really great. They're playing a much, much tougher schedule. If you put last year's schedule, this is what I had to do. I put last year's schedule against this year's schedule, and you just look at both of them and you go, oh yeah, it's a wildly different schedule this season. Now, I still think they're going to be a good team, but it is just the AFC South in general is a much better division than it was a year ago. Right. When you say Anthony Richardson should be healthy and he's playing and that any team will be better, we know that Tennessee just stockpiled a lot of pieces. That defense looks like it's going to be a lot better in Tennessee, and Jacksonville's still Jacksonville. They're still a team that's going to be, to be reckoned with. So that division's tougher, and they now have to play the first place schedule. That could be one of two people feel that maybe that team is not going to be a 10-win team and maybe has a little bit of too much hype right now. A little too overhyped.
Yeah. No, we see the worst of first stories every year in the NFL. You also see the first to worst. You see teams that just kind of drop off.
Yeah.
And have regression. Sometimes it's injury, sometimes it's scheme, sometimes it's because the division has gotten tougher. So you're right. That could easily happen. Right now, I'm thinking the Jets for some reason. They keep standing out to me.
I mean the Jets do because the Jets have not done it yet. Whereas Houston, you said, well, they improved last season, so you expect them to improve. Baltimore, we know, is a good team, and they played well. Miami's looked good the last couple of years. So all those teams have looked good, and New York has never looked good because Aaron Rodgers didn't play last year.
Exactly. Baltimore, you got an MVP, a reigning MVP there.
Yeah.
And by the way, he won the MVP, his first year in that Todd Monken system or second year in that Todd Monken system. So he's still getting comfortable in that system. That was a brand new system basically. They just started to put wide receiver talent around him. So that group, I think, but they lost their defensive coordinator. So if there's reason for regression, maybe the defense regresses. And then obviously you can see some regression there overall for Buffalo. Thrown in there. I think Buffalo's they're right at that window. I talk about the 5-year window all the time, and they have now exceeded it.
Yeah.
Baltimore has too, but Baltimore looks like they are better situated to extend that window a little bit more. I think Buffalo they crash landed into the window.
I agree. I put them, and that was between them and Miami, and I just know the prevalent talk is that Miami is overrated because there's people that don't like the style they play, and. But I'm with you. I think Buffalo, it was picking between Miami or Buffalo, which team I was going to put in that fourth slot. But I'm with you. Buffalo is also a questionable, are they going to be a 10-win team this season, or does it fall? And the reality is, are their wide receivers going to catch the ball?
Yeah, that's the big one. Yeah, because they lost. Well, they got Keon Coleman. That's kind of he's going to be their number one guy, looks like.
You got Keon, but you lose not only Stephon Diggs, you also lost Gabe Davis.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It does. I don't like the complement of weapons around Josh Allen. I'm not a fan of him at all. And that's what I wonder with them. So no, you're right. It could be any of those teams. I mean, you can make a good case for them. As a Houston fan, I'm going to say not Houston, just because you were one of the most injured teams in the last decade last season overall. Had the most injured offensive line in the last 20-something years. You were the first-year coach. They were actually one of the more, remember I told you this, they were the most penalized team on the road. Like nobody was more penalized on the road than the Texans. They were actually an undisciplined team last year. And now you added all the weapons. You're the first team to add 2 double-digit sack defenders since the 49ers in the mid-90s, the one that won the Super Bowl after stockpiling all the free agents. And you bring in Stephon Diggs. I just don't see that much room for regression. But like I said, something crazy could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, but good stuff there. I mean, that's what we hope be discussing a lot is the potential ceilings of these teams, but we don't talk about the floor of them. Like which one of these teams has the kind of the deepest basement, if you will, for a team. And to me, it feels like the Jets are that team. Feels like they got the deepest basement.
That's
high ceiling, but a real deep basement too.
They've been digging that basement for years.
Exactly. Like it feels like if any team could bottom out really badly, it's like it could happen. The Jets could bottom out. The Ravens bottom out. What are they, a 9-win team? They'll bottom out. Like I mean, I feel like if Houston bottoms out, there'll still be like a 9 or 9-win team. I feel like if the Jets bottom out, they'll feel like they're tanking. They'll be that bad.
Like if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, it's over.
Yes.
Like there's like pull the plug, guys.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. But we can see. I'm gonna actually be keeping up with the Jets, the Jets, Jets. And that division is interesting too, just overall, because now the Patriots are no longer the dominant team in the division. So I'm not really sure. I mean, Buffalo is the team, but we all expect them to regress a little bit. So that division is really interesting.
Miami, we again, like there's basically that whole division is which one of you is going to take it and which one of you guys are going to fall back.
Pretty much. Like I agree. And it could be any 3 of those teams that takes the leap.
Yes.
And I go, I'm not surprised. Not surprised by that. The Patriots are the only one that we all agree they got no shot, which is rare to say. All right, we come back. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. I do want to talk about this. Speaking of Miami, this Tua story that related to Brian Flores. He responded to Tua being very critical of his coaching style. We'll get into that. We'll also potentially hear from Sark. Sark made the rounds, kind of the coaching car wash, and went on the Dan Patrick show. We'll hear a little bit from Sark from early this week on the Dan Patrick Show. We'll also got Raj Rant of the Day. There is a trend potentially that I'm noticing in preseason. I'm hoping it does not carry over into the regular season. I'll identify that for you on the other side. All of that more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a One Artist Wednesday here on the Rodcast. That's where my man Patrick goes deep down the rabbit hole into the catalog of one specific artist, group, or band. And today, the featured artist of One Artist Wednesday, Led Zeppelin. You said you had a hard time with this one, man. Bangers all over the place.
I mean, Led Zeppelin's just one of the most iconic bands of all time. They got
tough.
Too
tough
many
to narrow
that
down to.
And I'm a Zeppelin fan, so you're like, well, I could pick like 5 or 6 from each record. And just go record by record. But
how many iconic albums do they have?
5 or 6.
Wow.
I mean, once you
usually
get
don't
into
to
like
that
the
many.
later stuff, like Presence and stuff, I don't know if that's as iconic, but they had basically Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin 2, Led Zeppelin 3, Led Zeppelin 4, Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti. They're all hits records.
Damn. Yeah. No, it's legit. That's crazy. No, it is. It's like that's how long, and are they still active?
I mean, not really. So basically, yeah,
Maybe not. Okay.
so it was their drummer passed away, who was really, really big part of it. John Bonham passed away, and that kind of ended it of
Yeah, I
what
gotcha.
it was. They were never that. So they've played and they've done some other stuff with other people, and they've show up every once in a while, and reunite every 30 years or so. But it's
Yeah.
and
Like a
they'll like come
reunion
up and
tour
play
or
with
something like
somebody, or
that.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Page will get up, or Robert Plant will get up with somebody. But no, they've not been. All this was done basically in a 10-year span.
Okay. Yeah. No, it is. It's it's amazing that a lot of bands are still like performing, and that Led Zeppelin is done and still that iconic. So in a
Yeah.
short time span, so how many years did they actually were active and in their prime? We talking about 2 decades?
No, it 1 decade at
Not even that?
most. Yeah,
1 decade. Wow.
pretty much the 70s, maybe a little bit of the 60s into the 70s.
It's pretty
But
amazing.
yeah, but no, but it was. Yeah, I mean
Be
they
that
went and hit it
prolific in a
hard,
short time.
and then
Yeah.
and then it was over. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I kind of like that though. I like that. That's kind of how, and honestly, a lot of folks, Seinfeld was kind of like that. Like he really was like, no. I believe that this is special. We got something unprecedented phenomenon, and he didn't want to. Remember, they wanted to pay him like an extra, millions of dollars to do an extra season.
Yeah.
He was like, no. We had our moment. Like this is it. We don't want to. What do they call it? Jump the shark. I believe is the term.
Yes.
Right? We don't want to wait till people get sick of the show. We want to leave on top. All right, go off and ride off into the sunset kind of thing. You don't see that often happen in any form of entertainment, whether it be sports or you're talking about music too. All right, thanks, Patrick, for the musically themed days of the week, but also thank you for coming up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the Day, which is another great conversation starter. Give the folks the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the Day.
Big Fat Poll of the Day today. Which team in the AFC is the most overrated going into the season? Right now, our poll answers are the Jets, the Texans, the Ravens, and the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going Jets. Sorry.
Yeah, only 10 quick votes in, but pretty even so far. Pretty even.
Okay. Yeah.
I was seeing if one of those was not going to get a vote, but everyone's getting votes right now. So
everybody's getting votes right now. Yeah, I already made my vote. Going Jets on them. Definitely not going Texans. Not going Ravens. Dolphins. I still think it's. I still think there's a lot of uncertainty, and the jury's out on Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins just now. Because he hasn't actually won that many more games than Brian Flores in his first 2 years. I think Brian Flores won like 19 games in his last 2 years. I want to say Mike McDaniel has won 20.
Yeah,
2 years. Like it's
Mike
not that,
I like
McDaniel
McDaniel as a coach a ton.
I do too.
It's more the question of I think the defense is going to be a little bit more questionable this season because they had to let go some guys because of salary, and then it's can Tua keeps taking steps forward to get that team where it needs to be.
Ooh, matter of fact, that's what we need to get into the Tua conversation here because we'll get into it because he made some comments on the Dan Le Batard show that have gone viral. He was critical of Brian Flores, his former head coach, of his coaching style. I believe there was even a remark where he called him a terrible person. So yeah, and Brian Flores responded to that yesterday. So we'll get into that and talk about coaching styles. I'll tell you why I wouldn't trust Brian Flores as a head coach, and it's got nothing to do really with his coaching style. We'll get into that too. And we got Raj Round today. I'll tell you about that preseason trend that I've started to notice a little bit of. We got time. We'll get into Steve Sarkisian. He's making the rounds during the he's doing like the interviews and doing the coaching car wash, going around to different interviews right before the season. He did an interview with Dan Patrick. So we got some time. We'll play some of that for you as well. But first, and we got some nuggets, Cowboys nuggets, Texans nuggets that I want to share with you guys. But first, let's get educated. Let's get updated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros lost to the Red Sox 6-5 last night. Both pitchers struggled to get going, allowing 3 runs each in the first inning. Yadier Diaz hit a game-tying homer in the 5th inning, but Jarren Duran hit the go-ahead shot in the 8th, and the Red Sox held on to even the series at 1 apiece. The Astros do get good news, though, as Justin Verlander will return today, starting the game for Houston for the first time since early June when he was placed on the IL dealing with neck injury, while Alex Bregman could make his return to the lineup as well. And the Rangers dropped their second game against the Pirates 4-0. Cody Bradford pitched 7 innings, giving up 3 and striking out 8, but the Rangers offense could never get going, only getting 3 hits in the game. The Rangers look to take the series in the rubber match today with Andrew Haney getting the start. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Could you also do me a favor, Patrick, get that Tua sound ready from the Dan Le Batard show? I want to play that to kind of set the table for this discussion about Brian Flores, because we'll have his retort in response to Tua. But Tua was on with Dan Le Batard, and he started talking about his time early on in his career with Brian Flores. We discussed what a dysfunctional organization the Miami Dolphins were, especially at the time that Tua was talking about here with Brian Flores. That's when they got busted for tampering and got the punishment. I believe a first-round draft pick of what they were docked as a result of that. And there was a fine, and ownership had to, I believe they were like suspended from being around team functions for a while too. And that was when reportedly, allegedly, Tom Brady was that he was a part of this too, and that the offer was that he could be part owner, part minority owner, plus starting quarterback Jackie Moon style with them, and then Brian Flores, was obviously disgruntled as a result, and then they thought about bringing in Sean Payton, and then Bill Belichick mistakenly congratulated the wrong Brian when he was trying to congratulate Brian Dable and congratulated Brian Flores. Got all messy and ugly. But anyway, the Miami Dolphins, they were just a fuster cluck of a franchise at the time. And Brian Flores was the head coach. And Tua, on the Dan Le Batard show, talked about the struggles that he had personally and professionally with the organization and with Brian Flores. Here is Tua Tagovailoa.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad, and you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, it's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
All right. A terrible person. That stood out. That has made the headline. Yeah. A terrible person. So Brian Flores, because I believe this came out like Monday night. This kind of went viral. And so Brian Flores, who's now the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, he was asked about it. And here's the first part of his statement where he expresses some contrition, but also talks about how he's happy for Tua.
That said, I think there's some other questions that or some other things that you guys want to talk about, so I'll address those too. Specific to the comments that were made by Tua, I just want to say, look, I'm happy, genuinely happy, genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had, and I really wish him nothing but the best. And I think player relationships are very important to me. I think that's kind of the foundation of coaching. I got into coaching because I was impacted as a young guy by my high school coaches, my college coaches, going all the way to Pop Warner. I got into coaching because I want to make that same kind of impact, positive impact, pour into young people, help them become, as KO says all the time, the best versions of themselves. And that's really my goal always in coaching. So I wish nothing but the best to Tua. Really more than anything, I'm just focused on the Vikings, the 2024 Vikings, the players we have. We saw a couple of guys up here, just a couple minutes ago, Metellus and HP. I think, their leadership, their friendship is important to me, and I'm just, I'm excited about this group.
All right. He was also asked about the specific comment and how it affected him, where Tua calls him a terrible person. Here is Brian Flores.
The words you use were terrible person. I'm just curious how that hit you when you saw it.
Look, I'm human, so that hit me in a way that wasn't. I wouldn't say it was positive for me, but at the same time, I've got to use that and say, hey, how can I grow from that? How can I be better? And that's really where I'm at from that standpoint. Do I feel like that's me? No, but how can I grow from that situation and create a world where that's not the case that anyone says that about Brian Flores?
Yeah, the old coaching saying that, I believe my man Buck used to throw this out there. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That you gotta, as a coach, it is a teacher, period. You need to instill that I actually do care about your well-being. I care about you as a person. I mean, this is part of the secret sauce of Sark's culture. Remember that the secret sauce is the culture of vulnerability, where the coach, I forget his culture Wednesdays or whatever it is, one of the days a week, where they don't talk football. They get together, different groups get together every week. They don't talk football. All they talk about is their different experiences and what they're going through, right? It's almost therapeutic. And the belief is that once you know about a person and you know their story and you know their journey, all right, and you connect with them personally, you can relate to them personally, then as a teammate, when they are going through something, trials, tribulations, having a tough day, need encouragement, need support, you know what to tap into. Because you know what brought them here to this point. You know what motivated them. You know if it, when somebody tells you, oh yeah, man, one of the things that motivated me is my dad passed away and we used to play, football was kind of his sport and it kind of motivates me. I got that tatted on me. Then, like, okay, I kind of know what motivates you. I understand like what has led to your this football character, whatever your football character is, there is something that contributes to it. And I think ultimately for Brian Flores, he knows that he's talking about relationships here, but you lose sight of it. I think sometimes when you become a head coach that, it is about relationships and you still have to instill that in every player that, hey, I genuinely care about you as a person. Now let's try to get you to be the best version of yourself personally and professionally that we can get to. And just know that everything that I do and the criticism that is going to come as a result of, this relationship. And if I am coaching you hard, it's coming from a place of love. All right. So when I get on you, it's coming from, I'm coaching you hard because it's because I care about you a lot. Not that. And I think Brian Flores, whatever their relationship, he did not instill that in Tua. Tua did not believe that the criticism and the hard coaching was coming from a loving place. It was coming from a place that, it was genuine and authentically that he cared about him. And I think that's ultimately where they got crossed, where they were not on the same page. I have no idea why he called Brian Flores a terrible person. Hard coaching, I've known hard coaches, and they can be coaches who are just straight up a-holes. I've referred to some of my coaches like that. Like, oh man, the guy, he's just an a-hole, period. It's just the way he coaches. But it's okay, because I didn't take it personal, and I seen him treat a lot of guys like that. So I was like, he's an a-hole to everybody. He ain't an a-hole just to me.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Brian Flores was treated to us a different way than he treated a lot of other guys on the team. If you're an a-hole to everybody, everybody gets it. then we're trauma bonding then as a team. We're like, no, man, coach is just an a-hole to everybody. You had to deal with it today. I dealt with it last week. And then we're almost trauma bonding together. Like, and it's us, not against the coach, but we all have felt it, right, at the same level. There's no kind of discrimination you feel like, or that the coach is picking on you, the coach doesn't like you, he's not isolating you. It felt like here that Tua was describing being isolated, that it was specific to him and a couple of other guys on the team. He said even some of us are still right now dealing with being reprogrammed as a result of that. So I said, Brian Flores, I think he expressed contrition. Anytime somebody calls you a terrible person, I think you should do an inventory. I mean, and I'm not saying that they're right about that. They could be wrong. But if somebody calls you a terrible person, you might need to look in the mirror a little bit, time for a man in the mirror moment, and see, okay, even if I don't agree with them, why do they feel like that? Why do they feel like I'm a terrible person? Why do they feel like I am a horrible human being? And then you got to start. And they asked him, would he reach out to Tua? And he said he's got a lot of stuff going on, but he would be open to talking to Tua. He said Tua's got a lot going on, so it shouldn't be a top priority for either one of them. But he did admit that, hey, I'd be open to it. I'd be open to talking to Tua to resolve this thing a little bit. Because, that's something that's heavy on Tua's heart. If he's, I always say you carry that. If you're carrying that kind of baggage, where you think he's a horrible person, a terrible person, and you're willing to go in an interview and say that, and not keep that to yourself, because Tua's not the kind of guy that's trying to go viral.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy that's trying to make headlines. I've never known Tua to be that kind of guy. Seems like he's a pretty humble person, actually. So for him to say that in an interview, that's been on his heart. That's been heavy on his heart. And he wanted to get that out there. That was therapeutic for him. And I think in the offseason for Brian Flores, it probably would be wise to hit him up. He wants to talk to you about this. There's no doubt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought it up. So if I was Brian, because I think now it's on Brian Flores' heart.
Yeah.
Now, how does he had two players flanking him, two Minnesota Viking players. They didn't show that they were on. He described it in the audio. They were on either side of him, flanking him as moral support. Because he had sunglasses on the whole time. Because I think he was getting emotional. I think he was gonna have tears in his eyes a little bit, thinking about, oh man, it's a coach's, man. It matters how your players see you, and it should anyway. And the player saying that you're a terrible person. I think it hit him emotionally. That's why the players were up there to support him. Like, oh, coach, man, the way he described you, that's not the reputation that any coach wants. Yeah. And so they came up there to support him. He had his sunglasses on, because I think he was emotional talking about it. So it seems like something they got to work past. But here's why I would never hire Brian Flores to be my head coach. Sounds like he's a great defensive coordinator, and sounds like he is I've never heard anything other than good things about Brian Flores prior to this. And I think, like I said, it was probably because of the dysfunction of that organization. He probably stressed out because he hadn't been head coach. So it was a lot of more stress than being a defensive coordinator. And we all know you get stressed out and you can say stupid things and you can act things that act the way that you wouldn't normally do. I think we've all been in that situation where we have to express remorse or regret over actions and things that we've said because we were stressed out in the moment. And everybody's like, we get it, man. You were stressed out. We totally understand.
I mean, when we talk about stress, there was reports that he was offered money to tank and lose games, where he knew, if I tank and lose games, I'll never be a head coach in the NFL again. Yep. So now I'm probably going to lose my job for trying to win, but they want me to lose, so they're actively trying to have me lose, and I'm trying to win. There's probably some stress involved in that.
A lot of stress, man. Yeah. And that's your owner. It's coming from the head guy.
Yes.
And so I that's no excuse.
Nope.
But I get he was, and by the way, Tua's really stressed out too. Tua's really stressed out. He's stressed out. Tua's in a bad system. Exactly. Naturally, everybody's calling him a bust. Oh man, we got to get rid of this guy. So it's a very stressful situation for both those guys involved. And I'll just say this about Brian Flores. Like I said, I think he is a really good defensive coordinator, and I don't think he's a horrible, terrible person. But in that moment, he may have treated Tua a certain way, and Tua is valid in thinking and saying that from his relationship. But I think ultimately, basically as a person, even away from the professional side of it, if you are, someone in that situation and you treat someone a certain way and treat someone unkind, it shouldn't be an indictment on your character. And I think for Brian Flores, I don't know if it was an indictment on his character, because afterwards he came out and expressed contrition and some regret about it and remorse. But this is why I wouldn't hire Brian Flores anyway as a head coach, period. And this is the first mistake by the Miami Dolphins. And I said at the time, from the Belichick coaching tree, it was always going to be a disaster, guys. the Belichick coaching tree, what we know now about the Patriot way, it was unique to Belichick's coaching style, which was a hard coaching style. Guys, Tom Brady left Belichick, and one of the reasons we know now from his wife or ex-wife, all right, and from Tom Brady, he didn't feel appreciated. He's like, I didn't feel appreciated. I didn't feel loved. All right. And that was after a decade plus with Bill Belichick. He still couldn't get Bill Belichick to open up and show him love and treat him differently than he treated everybody else. That was part of what Bill Belichick did. That's why he kept drafting quarterbacks behind Tom Brady, who ultimately he got tired of that. He had to go to ownership and say, man, can we get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo? Bill keeps drafting these quarterbacks behind me, and now he's got this guy he drafted in the second round who's actually getting starting reps. Can you trade him away so I don't have to feel this anxiety as the GOAT, the Super Bowl winning quarterback? And Belichick's like, nah, I like having Garoppolo breathing down your neck. I don't want you comfortable, Tom. He never wanted him comfortable in the organization, even after he established himself as the GOAT. That's part of the reason that Tom Brady lost. Left, and that they started losing games was because, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they started to butt heads a little bit. Remember, he was bringing around, what's his name? Alex Guerrero, his TB12 guru, and Bill Belichick didn't like that. He started bringing them into the training rooms, bringing them into the locker room, other guys in the locker room saying, hey, I want to train with the Tom Brady guy, not the Patriots guy. And Bill Belichick's like, what the hell are you talking about? He restricted his access on the planes because he was going on private planes and going on the team trips with him. And then he got to tell Tom, that guy can't be traveling with us, man. I don't like it. He's not even really officially part of the damn team. But he was a part of the team because the Patriots owner invested in TB12. Come on, man. Like, there were all types of conflicts going on. And it was all because Belichick did not want to evolve. The truth is, Belichick never changed. He never changed. He was the same coach that drafted Tom Brady in the 6th round as he was when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo and traded Jimmy Garoppolo away. And when Tom Brady left, he was the same guy. But that was part of the problem. At that point, you should have evolved. You had won multiple Super Bowls. Tom Brady had proven himself, and Belichick was like, no. The part of the Patriot way is you stubbornly stick to your principles. No one man is bigger or better than the team. And I agree with that in theory, but the truth is, not in practice. In practice, Tom Brady was the Patriot way. We found that out. When he left and went to Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl his first year, we're like, oh, that's the secret sauce of the Patriot way. It actually isn't Belichick's style. Belichick was great. He was awesome. But without the balance of Tom Brady and TB12, Bill Belichick and the Patriot way was lost. All right. And that's what we figured out. And I think ultimately Bill Belichick coaches, I've always said this, the coaches from his coaching tree, and all these guys, they try to replicate Belichick too much. And that's where they all fall off because they try to replicate that Patriot way. And the Patriot way was a hard-nosed way of coaching. All right, no one-man big. Remember Bill O'Brien getting into it with Tom Brady on the sideline. Josh McDaniel was stubborn and hard-headed. When you talk about Charlie Weiss, remember all Charlie Weiss's comments, even when he was at Kansas. You're talking about Joe Judge, remember he got into it with Giants players because he was making them do laps and do push-ups and stuff like that. I mean, because all these guys they were trying their best to be Belichick.
I mean, Matt Patricia helped tank the Eagles last year.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Patricia, don't forget about, Matt Patricia. I forgot all about this dude, right? With the Detroit Lions. That's another one. Romeo Crennel probably wasn't as hard-nosed as the rest of these guys. But we're just talking about the coaching tree and why it fails ultimately. And number one is because all these guys, and this is at the NFL level. I know Nick Saban is on that coaching tree. We're talking about the NFL level. And even Nick Saban at the NFL level wasn't great. Ultimately, they try to replicate Bill Belichick too much, even with the Texans, right? Bill O'Brien wanted to do what? Replicate the Patriot way. They kept, even getting Nick Caserio, which was a good thing, but they always wanted to be the Patriots of the South. They would say it as an organization. But ultimately, the Patriots of the South don't have TB12. They don't have Tom Brady. So trying to replicate that is a fool's errand. It was never going to work. And the second reason the Bill Belichick coaching tree is so bad, Bill Belichick doesn't share information. He's a closed book. He mumbles at interviews with media, doesn't trust the media, doesn't want to give him information. Guy even is dishonest on his injury reports because he doesn't want to give up information. Even to this day, we don't know why Malcolm Butler was benched before the Super Bowl. Tom Brady doesn't know. The defensive coordinators don't know. Nobody on that coaching staff knew why he benched the starting cornerback before the Super Bowl, and they still don't. because he won't share the information. He has an amorphous book that he keeps of clandestine schemes and tactics and strategies he's had with the Giants, and he won't let anybody have it. That's true. I'm not making that up. This is the same guy that had an extensive library, right, of clandestine secret videos of practices of opposing teams and warm-ups for opposing teams so that he could try to get an advantage on them. All right. And the only reason, remember, he was outed was because of his own guy, Mangini. Mangini's the one outed him. He was like, dude, I know he's doing it. Why? Because we did it together. I know he's over there cheating because we did it together, me and him together. He operates that place like the CIA or the FBI. At least he did. And that's fine. But what you know about the CIA and the FBI, they don't share information, even with their own agents. The old agents carrying out the operation don't know why they're doing it. That is for the leadership on high. And that's how Bill Belichick operates. Remember, guys, he didn't even tell the coaches who were the coordinators his last year with the Patriots. He had Joe Judge and Matt Patricia coaching offense. He didn't even tell them what they were coaching. The whole time, remember, they were asking coaches, hey, what's your responsibility? He's like, Bill will determine that. Bill will tell us what we got to coach. It's like, you're coaching, but you don't know what you're supposed to coach? Bill will handle that. Of course it didn't work. We all were watching it saying, this is going to be an abject disaster. And it was. And so it's, to me, ultimately, this is why all the Bill Belichick coaches fail at the NFL level, because he'll never share information with them, and they all are trying to replicate the only thing they know in terms of a successful coaching strategy, which is the Belichick way. All right. And what they thought was the Patriot way. And I think now we all realize it was more Tom Brady than Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was a big, important part of it, but it was more Tom Brady than Belichick. So I would never trust a Bill Belichick coaching tree higher. Never. They've all been bad. The best one is probably Mike Vrabel, and he's not actually from the coaching tree. But even though he also had a butting of heads with his GM, butting of heads with his owner, now he's out. They're so abrasive. Like it's too much. And even Brian Flores, I think at the time he was trying to replicate it. They're too abrasive, and they're too hard-headed and stubborn, and they don't want to evolve. That was Bill Belichick in a nutshell. And I think ultimately that's why the coaching tree will die and wither. It will die and wither. It won't be like the Bill Walsh coaching tree with Sam Weiss and Mike Holmgren and George Seifert and Mike Shanahan. Oh, that's a great coaching tree. What about that Bill Parcells coaching tree? Sean Payton, Belichick's from it. Zimmer's from it. You got Tom Coughlin from that tree. Super Bowl champion coaches. What about Andy Reid's coaching tree? John Harbaugh's on that coaching tree. Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coaches. Ron Rivera, been to a Super Bowl. Sean McDermott's from that coaching tree. Good coaches. What about that Belichick coaching tree?
Yeah, what about the Mike Shanahan coaching tree? That's like half the league right now.
Had the damn leagues in that country. Why? Because I know Mike Shanahan. I've sat down with Mike Shanahan. He's an open book. What do you want to know? You want to know about my zone blocking scheme? I'll draw it up for you. Here, take it. Here it is. They give you everything. They don't care. They're sharing information. Bill Parcells used to hold court with the media, crack jokes with the media. We still got sound bites of Bill Parcells holding court, cracking jokes, telling the media anything they want to know. The guy was also a broadcaster. Got no problem talking about football, giving up valuable information. Bill Belichick was too paranoid that everybody was going to steal his coaches and therefore steal his strategy and steal all of his schemes. And we're like, really? I mean, I understand the anxiety, but everybody around the league has to deal with it. You think Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan now are saying that, oh, man, everybody stole our schemes and stole our strategies. Looks like now we're behind. The league has caught up with us. He was so worried about the league catching up with him that I think it really stunted the development of his coaching tree. Because I think his idea was, I'm not going to give them all the information. I'll never give them the entire strategy. I'll only give them what their task is and what their responsibility is within the structure of this organization. But a head coach needs to know, well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? What's the breakdown for it? What's the rationale? What was the thought process? So I can learn. But you can get that from Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh did clinics. Bill Walsh was a professorial. He would do lectures. He wrote books. He was a broadcaster. So no wonder his coaching tree is awesome, because he was a wealth a fountain of information. What do you want to know? I wrote a book about it. Go read the book. I got a lecture about it. You want to hear a lecture? I'll do it. Boom. I'll talk to anybody about it. He's the one that started the minority coaching program in the NFL. You see, they need more minority coaches. And Bill Belichick's up there still mumbling when you ask him a question about the scheme or personnel. So to me, you're never going to have a great coaching tree from a coach that doesn't share information. And we have numerous examples that Bill Belichick never wanted to share information. Never. And that's why his coaches, they never got the actual answers to the test. He never gave them to them. He never revealed any of that. I still think he's got that knowledge, but he never gave it to anybody. He was supposed to give it to Josh McDaniels, remember? That's why Josh McDaniels passed on the Indy job and came back. He was like, no, he's going to give me the keys to the kingdom. That's why I'm coming back. And then Josh McDaniels learned he ain't giving them to anybody. He's going to die with those answers. He's going to the grave with the strategies that made him great. He ain't giving them to you. And now the NFL knows, yeah, he ain't giving those to nobody. And he's thinking, oh, I'm going to take those to my next job. Maybe you will, Belichick, but look at what happened to your coaching tree as a result. It's trash. All because you didn't want to share information with your own coaches. That's just my theory. I would never hire a Belichick coach. Belichick executive? Hell yes. Nick Caserio, Jason Licht, James Lipford, Jim Nagy, Monty Ossenfort, Adam Peters, Bob Quinn, Leonel Vital, Matt Groh. He's got 11 front office executives and 4 GMs from the Bill Belichick executive tree. Why? Because he was never paranoid about them stealing schemes. So he'd tell Nick Caserio anything. He'd tell Nick Caserio everything about evaluation of players and about player acquisition and about his salary cap hacks and things of that nature, because he never thought that's how a team is going to close the gap between the Patriots and the rest of the league. But he was actually, I think, wrong about that too. I think overall his tree would be better and his executive tree would be better if he shared information. But the truth is, and I think the evidence is in the executive tree, that if he shared information, of course Bill Belichick knows ball, probably knows more ball than anybody else. But it was his nature as a clandestine, secretive person and coach that really hurt his coaching tree. But it's also the proof that his executive tree flourishing, thriving right now. Because with those guys, I think he shared a lot of information. He was an open book with those guys. Why? Because he needed them. He didn't need him in the coaching ranks. He thought he could do everything on his own in the coaching ranks, him and Tom Brady. But on the executive side, he needed Nick Caserio. He needed all those Scott Pioli and those guys to help him to be able to build the dynasty and build the right. So they got more answers they got more insight into the construction of the dynasty than the coaches did. That's why the coaches tree sucks. All right, we come back. We'll get into, I'll tell you this trend I noticed in preseason, hoping it doesn't carry on into the regular season. But if it does, bad news for football fans, bad news for the NFL. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Right Babies coming back on the horn. All right. Welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's rant of the day. Here is a trend that I noticed in the first 2 weeks of the preseason. Shout out to Sharp Football because he has the numbers. But I saw it, and I'm glad that he broke it down here. So how about this? This is through 32 games played in the first 2 weeks of the preseason. And he's been tracking it since 2017. So we got good numbers to compare it to. That's why, so we got all the way to 2017. So looking at several different trends with penalties early on in the preseason. So automatic first downs awarded by penalty in the first 2 weeks of the preseason, and this goes all the way back to 2017, 112, 192, 164, 105, 127, 123, but this year, 85. So there were an average of 137 of these automatic first downs awarded by penalty from 2017 to 2023 in the first 2 weeks of the preseason. And I think 125 was the average in the previous 2 years, but this year, 85. That's a reduction of 35% between what you're looking at, between 32 and 38%. That's a big drop off. In terms of overall defensive penalties, how about this? There's been almost 150 per year called the last 2 years, an average of 166 over the last 6 years. So 166 on average over the last 6 years. Last 2 years, number drops to 150 on average. This is defensive penalties in the first 2 weeks of the preseason. This year, that number's down to 107. So close. So a 30+% decrease or reduction from the previous year's average in the overall defensive penalties. Offense, different. So far, they've had 222 offensive penalties first 2 weeks of the preseason. In the previous 2 years, there was 228. So you haven't had so a 6 penalty drop. That's not at all close to the 35% drop you're starting to see in overall defensive penalties. So basically, if you want to break it down specifically, you've seen a massive drop in this is types of penalties. 57% decline in defensive offsides, 47% decline in roughing the passer, 39% decline in defensive pass interference, 33% decline in 24% decline in defensive holding. There's actually a 33% decline in defensive pass interference yardage assessed. And so the NFL, they keep up with all these trends. I mean, that's just what they do. And so the trend is now, for at least in the preseason, and the belief is that the officials, that this is not a coincidence, that they have focused on this for some reason, and we don't know why. Fewer penalties called on defense. And on offense, it's pretty much been steady, the amount of penalties called. And so and by the way, that's hurt offense because, fewer penalties called on defense means, fewer of, we talked about those automatic first downs that are awarded, only 85 this year compared to your average of 125. And in the last 2 years, remember, we've talked about it. The NFL's one of their big concerns is scoring, because scoring is down. Scoring is actually down in the NFL the last couple of years. And they're trying to figure out why it's down. They're hoping the kickoff rules will give better field position. And with that better field position, more scoring in the NFL period, make the drives easier. But scoring is down. And if this trend continues, it's just going to help defense even more. I mean, that wouldn't help. They want those gimme first downs, those easy first downs. And based on the first 2 weeks of the preseason, these refs are taking those away. Now, you could just say, oh, maybe defenses are just playing, they're sharper, they're more buttoned up. I do think defenses are savvier now than they've ever been with the new age, new modern offense. I've talked about this. I think DBs, they're coming out of college, I think, more ready to defend these sophisticated spread passing concepts than ever. The 2022 class of DBs at corners was fantastic. I mean, you're talking that's what you're getting. So I think the DBs actually are better because now they're accustomed, they're evolved, in this era of the spread concepts. They grew up in it. I had to adapt to it. It came around in like the early 2000s. So I had to adapt to Mike Leach coming in with the air raid. These guys grew up with it. They grew up 7-on-7. They got passing camps. they know the ins and outs and the nuances of the passing game and route combinations way more than, and they're way more advanced with that stuff than I ever was at their age. They just kind of naturally get it. Where we have to understand it and we had to try to learn it. I mean, I was from hell when I got to the Big 12, they were still doing Nebraska was running the triple option and winning the Big 12, by the way, running the triple option. Eric Crouch. You know what I mean? That was the league that I came up in. It was a different league. So I think that's what's happening in the NFL too. Is these DBs and a lot of these linebackers back seven, I call them spread babies. They're way more advanced at understanding and defending route concepts and combinations than we were. So it's I think that's just a different breed that they're dealing with, but it also may be a focused, concerted effort by the refs, and I don't know what that motivation would be because the NFL's always had the motivation, at least with the rules, manipulating them to be advantageous to the offense. And this would say maybe they're just calling fewer penalties, period, on the defense and letting them play. If you let the defense play, the defense is going to win more than their fair share. They are. These days, they will. So we'll see if that pattern holds, that trend holds. All right, we come back. We got what the facts, what the stats on the other side. Coming right back here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats. I was doing some research on Texas because we're getting ready for the season, closing in on. Oh man, now you're at. Well, are we at 10 days now? Yeah, 10. 10 is the countdown. Yeah. I believe we're at 10 now in the countdown. That's so VY days, obviously. That's a more. I don't think that's not a more famous number 10. So that VY days from the start of Texas football. Also throwing this out there since we're talking about what the facts, what the stats. I was doing my research. How about this? Jonathan Brooks last year, he only had 8 rushing attempts at Texas that were not from the shotgun. Oh, I take that back. In his career, only 8 rushing attempts in his career that were not from the shotgun. That's how often he takes. And I had it on the goal line. I imagine those were, if I probably wouldn't looked at it, they were all on the goal line or something like that. 97% of his collegiate rushes came from the shotgun. That's just the reality of it. That is interesting though, because everybody's not like that. I remember looking at Kentucky, because I've been doing research on Kentucky, but obviously in some of the previous years when they had Liam Cohen there, who is now in the NFL, I believe he's with Tampa Bay, maybe, I'm not sure. Liam Cohen he was with Sean McVay for years, and now he's back in the NFL. He went to Kentucky. Strangely enough, he went there in 2021. Went back to the NFL in 2022, then went back to Kentucky to call plays in 2023. It was very strange. But anyway, now he's back in the NFL. So there's a very stark difference in the offenses, like when he was there and then when he left. So it can show you a lot. But Ray Davis, rush attempts at Kentucky, only 51% of them came from the shotgun at the time. So it depends on what system you're coming from, but Sark's runs are shotgun runs. That's pretty much what you get. We rare anytime Quinn Ewers is under center, something funky's going on. You ever notice that? It's something funky. It's a quarterback sneak. I believe they tried the tush push one time when he was under center, didn't work. Yeah. It's always a trick play, a double pass or something. If he's under center, I don't know why teams don't figure this out. I was like, if he's under center, dude, something funky's going on. If he's on the center, just drop back. Like, don't even worry about it. He's doing something weird. Unless if it's short yards, they tried they tried to tush push. They tried to like snap it to. I want to say once they tried to snap it to like JT Sanders, like through. You remember this in the Alabama game?
Oh, that seems right.
I'm gonna say Jonathan Brooks recovered it.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
That seems right.
I want to say he recovered it, if I'm not mistaken. It was early on in the game. It was like, what the hell was that? It was a short yard. It was a funky play. It's hard to even understand what they were trying to do because it was so weird. They didn't execute it right. That could have went very badly. But anyway, speaking of Jonathan Brooks, I believe he recovered that fumble, if I'm not mistaken. All right, anyway, there you go. With the facts, with the stats. That's a weird one. Here is I got a couple other stats here for you that may work out. So how about this one? And I've been doing some NFL research, getting ready for the season. And I told you guys that the Bengals have a new OC. Dan Pitcher is his name, I believe. So thank you, Patrick. You reminded me of that. I didn't realize this. The Bengals offense last year, their play action pass rate, 29th in the NFL, and their pre-snap motion rate was 25th in the NFL from basically like 2020 to 2023. Like they didn't use a lot of play action pass and they didn't use a lot of pre-snap motion. I didn't understand. I really didn't know that. I didn't watch. I guess I don't watch enough Bengals football. This preseason though, they're top 5 in both of those with their new OC. Top 5 in pre-snap motion rate and in play action pass rate. Something to keep in mind. That offense because now they're using cheat codes they didn't use before. And I don't know why teams just don't use more pre-snap motion. That is crazy. That's insane. They asked Mike Zimmer, what concept on offense gives you the biggest headaches? And this was a couple of weeks ago, and he said, pre-snap motion. The motioning and the shifting is just a pain. It is. It changes the strength of the defense. We gotta make sure we communicate across the board now because you're motioning from one side of formation to the other. It puts like run defenders into coverage matchup disadvantages. I'll tell you, you motion over and Xavier Worthy's a single wide receiver on this side, and then you motion him over, and then he basically is a number 3 wide receiver on the other side, and then he gets matched up on a safety somehow instead of a corner because the corner doesn't bump all the way over. Oh man, it's just so many different ways that it changes the responsibilities on defense, and it violates a lot of the rules that bind the structural integrity of your defense, and it tests your communication constantly. The two, I would say, game-winning plays in the Super Bowl that the Kansas City Chiefs had versus the Eagles. Remember and actually the most recent one versus San Francisco, it was pre-snap motion forcing the defense to adjust, and the defense didn't adjust. Whether you're talking about the Hardman thing, or you're talking about when they ran, I believe it's called corn dog is what Andy Reid called it, against the Eagles. when they force him to bump the motion. I don't know why teams don't use more of it. So the point is, Bengals offense, it may be a whole lot more potent than it has been because they weren't using these concepts a lot. They were bottom of the NFL in these concepts. And now this guy, Dan Pitcher, is going to come in and they're going to be top 5, it looks like, in those categories too. All right, there you go. That's what the facts, what the stats. We come back, we'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. We'll discuss, speaking of the Bengals, man, how about that? Jamar Chase, he's unhappy. And there are some that believe he's going to get a new deal sooner rather than later. If that happens, that'll be sooner than CeeDee Lamb gets his new deal. And that also could change the conversation, give CeeDee Lamb some more leverage, and shift the balance in that contract negotiation he has right now going on with the Cowboys. We'll shed some light on that, hear from Adam Schefter about it. Also, we'll revisit the Tua criticism of Brian Flores' coaching style. We'll dive into that. And we'll talk some Texas football. We'll hear from some of the players, and I'll talk about the deep ball on the 40 acres. Apparently, it might make a comeback. It's been a struggle for the Longhorns during the Steve Sarkisian era, but this season it might make a comeback, and I'll tell you why. We'll discuss that on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a One Artist Wednesday edition of the Rodcast. That's when my co-host, Patrick, the Idealionaire, he comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. But on a One Artist Wednesday, he goes deep down the rabbit hole into the catalog of one specific artist, group, or band. And today, the focus and feature of the One Artist Wednesday is Led Zeppelin. Yeah, like that. Patrick, this is the jam, though. This is like an iconic opening, right?
Yeah, I
Like
mean
the
the
intro
vocal there
Yeah.
is pretty big.
I figured that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. What's the name of this one? The jam?
This is Immigrant Song.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm familiar with this one.
Yes, we're on the Led Zeppelin 3 now. This is their album, their third album, Led Zeppelin 3.
And you're picking one banger from every iconic album.
Well, I mean, from all their albums coming up, yeah. And then we kind of run out of time. But there's
so we don't have a show long enough to hit hit nearly to even half the bangers is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's how many of them they have. So appreciate Patrick hooking us up on a One Artist Wednesday. Also, Patrick hooks us up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is always a great conversation starter. Patrick, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day today. Which team in the AFC is the most overrated going into the season? Right now, looking at our poll results, we gave you 4 options that I put on there: the Jets, the Texans, the Ravens, and the Dolphins. Right now, the Jets leading the way with 49% of the votes. The Dolphins coming in second at 29%, Texans at 17%, and the Ravens at 6%.
Yeah, the Jets are it for me. It's gonna be interesting though, because I picked the Jets, and I think most people, because they have the deepest floor, deepest basement. Like every team's got a ceiling, and every team's got a basement or a bottom, if you will, and a floor. And I think the Jets, they don't just have a floor; they have a basement. I think it could get really bad. I think for the Texans and the Ravens, and obviously I'm assuming your quarterback stays healthy, but even if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I could see the Jets they don't know how to win. They haven't done it. And you can say that same thing about the Texans, but the Texans, I mean, they hit unlike almost in an unprecedented fashion on that draft class they had last season with Will Anderson at the top of it and CJ Stroud, both of those guys exceeding expectations. And now you basically have the window wide open right there. This is the beginning of their window. The Jets don't have a window. Like this is not, there's no window for the Jets. They're trying to roll the dice and just try to, hopefully, make a run and tap into something. But they haven't built and I will say they had a lot of good rookies, but with Aaron Rodgers, there's not really a window they're judging. They're just trying to get in as much out of the Aaron Rodgers experiment as they can. So you can say the window's right now. But in terms of the construction of it, I see the Texans are on a linear trajectory. The Jets are they're trying to win the lottery here. And the Ravens are at the end of their window, that 5-year window I always talk about. No head coach quarterback duo has won their first Super Bowl outside of the first 5 years. So they haven't, and not in the Super Bowl era. So if you got a quarterback and a head coach together and they haven't won a Super Bowl in their first 5 years, odds are it's not going to happen. Usually you got to change something pretty drastic. For Baltimore, they'll change the offensive coordinator. They'll change their DC, so we'll see. But they just hit it. Last year was it. That was it for them. Because remember, basically Lamar Jackson, his rookie year, he didn't start till the end of it. So I really didn't count that. Kind of count the second year. And basically he was right there up against the window last year. And it shook the way they looked. It looked like they were ready to ascend to a Super Bowl. But Patrick Mahomes, put it into that. So they have surpassed. That's why the Buffalo Bills are there. I think they're 2 years now past their Sean McDermott, Josh Allen window. They should move on from Sean McDermott. I don't think he's a bad coach, but the same thing was true for like an Andy Reid in Philadelphia. They've reached their ceiling with him. He's not going to take.
I think in Buffalo, like that is probably going to be the case. The problem is in Buffalo, I think they're also trying to figure out their salary cap situation before they bring in a new coach and then go at it again. But you're kind of in that purgatory that you really pushed to go all in those last couple years. So now you're on the back end of some of those contracts. So you let a couple of those go by this year and next year and try and get yourself set up with not as much dead cap. And then you hire the new coach and you try and make another run.
That's true. Yeah. And, and that's why I will say this about the Jets. I do it. This is why the move for Aaron Rodgers, I do admire it, because remember they hit on that draft class, that Sauce Gardner draft class.
Yeah.
Remember they hit that the Garrett Wilson, they got him all in one, and and the Zach Wilson experiment was a fail. So in order to maximize the window you have with those contracts, those rookie deals, you needed to make a drastic move, because you couldn't allow the Zach Wilson experiment to also bleed over and ultimately destroy the value you were getting in that draft class.
Yeah.
Because that's what would have happened if you would have kept on with Zach Wilson. Like, man, that's a really good draft class, and you just kind of wasted it. So they're like, nah, we got it. While we have this, we got top 5 talent on bargain basement deals, we gotta go. And that's really how you have to think when you get. And the Cowboys kind of missed their window. Like the Cowboys are right there close to it. By the way, I believe this is it. When they bring in Mike McCarthy, what was that, 2020? I believe it might have been 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So they're right there. 20, 21, 22.
Yeah,
23.
2020, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is the 5-year window. This is it.
Wow.
You see how crazy things get when you get the 5-year window? It puts a stress on the organization. The NFL did that on purpose, guys. That's the way the salary cap is set up, the CBA. It's all meant to just, when you get to that 5-year window, strain, bills. Oh, man, we got to make some decisions. The Ravens, I guess you haven't really seen it yet. They've done a good job of kind of building, through the draft. That's a well-run organization, period. That's all they are. But the Cowboys are feeling it, right? They got contracts they got to do, got to re-sign Dak, got to extend CD, got to get Micah done. Even if you operate and you make all the right decisions, which, I mean, you can argue the Cowboys have made some really good decisions, and the Ravens have too. That 5-year window, it really does. Once you get there salary cap wise, it makes everything more difficult. And that's why what the Texans are doing, it makes perfect sense. And they're on this poll too. You got to go. And you see Nick Casario, he tried to trade for Judon. He brought in Danielle Hunter. Like, you need to be very aggressive when you get that window. That's why when you figure it out, boom, when you get a new coach and a new quarterback, and then you figure it out, just go. And you can even argue the Rams did it. They did it in a very unconventional way. But they were like, no, let's get Stafford. We got the window. Let's go. Let's trade away our draft picks, because we ain't got time for that. All right. We ain't got time for that. Let's trade away that. Those are overvalued. Let's go get proven commodities like a Von Miller, because our window is kind of Aaron Donald's window. Generational talent. Once we lose him, we're going to have to reimagine this Rams, model, because he's that good, like generational good. And so they did. They were like, nah, we got to go. Sorry, Jared Goff. We got there with you, but we gotta go. And you can argue it doesn't even apply to them really, because they got there. But in terms of getting there are different ways for you to approach like that window. And every team is going to be a little bit different. And you can reset. The 49ers reset theirs when they got Brock Purdy. Like, oh, got an extra couple of years now in this window. Good. Now but it's still they're still, in terms of with Shano being there so long. Look how strained they are now with the Brandon Ayuk thing. If they don't win the Super Bowl here pretty soon, they got to pay Brock Purdy, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Then all the advantage they have are just gonna. They're a well-run organization, so still be in it, but they'll lose a lot of their organizational advantage.
Yeah, and unless Brock Purdy becomes the guy,
exactly,
then you're paying a quarterback who's not the top 3 quarterback, and that becomes a problem.
Because all you want is your players to exceed. Basically, you want them to outperform their contracts.
Yeah,
that's it. If you can do that as a GM, you're great. And once you start paying a guy, once I start paying them whatever you're paying, $50 million a year, you can't realistically outperform your contract, dude. I'm paying you $50 million a year. Hell yeah, I expect you to go out there and ball out. I'm paying $50 million a year for it. Congratulations, thank you. I'm paying it $50 million. Thank you. I'm glad you performed really well that game. All right, I'm paying top dollar for it. Right, when you go to a restaurant and you go to a really nice restaurant and you're paying those ridiculous, but they don't even have the prices on the menu, it's just that kind of stuff. You really do expect great service. You expect really that service because you're paying top dollar for it. Same thing when these guys get paid top dollar. What you want is them to be able to outperform the contract. You really don't do that if you get value there, and that's usually your rookie deals or what the Texans are doing, like right now, like Nico Collins, and find a way to get deals that you can extract value from. So, but windows wise, like I said, the Dolphins are in the middle of theirs right now. Who knows how that's going to work out? The Ravens have, I think, come close to exhausting it. We'll see what it looks like next season. The only team where the window no longer applies really is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Doesn't matter anymore. Like, they shattered all the windows. It doesn't matter. He's that good. So and he's on a team friendly deal. After all that being said, this dude is not even one of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Let that sink in. All right, so good question there. Who's going to talk about? My pick would be the Jets for the topic for Big Fat Whole Day. Which AFC team is the most overrated going into the season? All right, let's get to the Horn headlines, and then we'll come back and discuss the I think the wide receiver market. Jamar Chase right now may shift the wide receiver market just a bit. We'll discuss that. We'll also talk about Tua's criticism of Brian Flores a little bit. So the Longhorns have done something that shows you the level of excitement for Texas football coming this season. So we'll talk about that too. But all of that comes after the Horn headlines. Let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros lost to the Red Sox 6-5 last night. Both pitchers struggled to get going, allowing 3 runs each in the first inning. Yadier Diaz hit a game-tying homer in the 5th inning, but Jarren Duran got the go-ahead shot in the 8th, and the Red Sox held on to even the series at 1 apiece. The Astros do get good news as Justin Verlander will return today, starting the game for Houston for the first time since early June when he was placed on the IL dealing with a neck injury, while Alex Bregman could make his return to the lineup as well. And the Rangers dropped their second game to the Pirates 4-0. Cody Bradford pitched 7 innings, giving up 3 and striking out 8, but the Rangers offense could not get going, only getting 3 hits in the game. The Rangers look to take the series in the rubber match today with Andrew Haney getting the start, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. All right, let's get to this Jamar Chase story. So Adam Schefter went on ESPN, and he dropped a little nugget of information that Jamar Chase is unhappy currently in his contract right now with the Cincinnati Bengals, and that he and some others, actually, some of the insiders, including Chad Ochocinco, they believe that he could be getting a contract extension sooner rather than later. And by sooner, I mean sooner than one CD Lamb. Here's Adam Schefter.
I think right now, this is the one that to me remains the most mysterious because unlike Brandon Ayuk and CD Lamb, Jamar Chase has 2 years left on his contract, not 1 like those other players. And we've already heard the Bengals president, Mike Brown, come out and say that he would prefer to wait to do this deal. Now, I think Cincinnati still will push to get this deal done. But from my understanding, there hasn't been a whole lot of progress. And if there's not a whole lot of progress, you wonder what's next. Now, Chad Ochocinco, the former Bengals great wide receiver, said over the weekend he thinks the two sides will figure out a deal this week. But he also added that if the two sides can't get a deal done, he does not believe that Jamar Chase will step foot on a football field again until he has a new contract. And I think there are other people around the league who feel the same way about that particular situation that I think has flown a little bit under the radar.
All right, there you go. So if he does get that contract soon, like Ochocinco believes, and maybe some other insiders, I'm assuming he's going to get the top number. I'm assuming he's going to get he would be asking for 35 million, now maybe 33 million, which is slotted right underneath Justin Jefferson and average annual salary, and right above, I believe AJ Brown is right there at 32 million, somewhere around there. I forget who would be third, because CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, they're going to end up either being second highest paid receiver in the league, or they're going to match Justin Jefferson's 35 million a year. And I guess so. I don't know how much. And now, if Jamar Chase exceeds it, then this is a different discussion altogether. I don't know. I don't think he will, because Justin Jefferson, numbers wise, he has clearly separated and established himself from the rest of the NFL's wide receiving peers. But I mean, who knows what Jamar Chase would be demanding there? We have no idea. I know guaranteed money is going to be a big part of it, and I know the signing bonus is going to be a big part of it, as we've talked about. But in the CeeDee Lamb situation, I do wonder if he gets his contract before CeeDee Lamb. That would be crazy, considering he's skipping the line because he's got 2 years left on his deal, and his ownership, as Adam Schefter pointed out there, they don't really want to do this. But if he's going to hold out, they cannot afford in that division with the kind of competition they have. They can't afford to be without Jamar Chase, in my opinion. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see what the number will be for Jamar Chase. Is he going to settle for being the second highest paid receiver, or does he demand to be the highest paid? And if he does, then CD will definitely be able to match the Jefferson number. If Jamar Chase gets it, CD's going to definitely get it. Right now, we don't know if CD's going to get $35 million a year because the Cowboys could argue, no, Justin Jefferson has done A, B, and C, and you haven't done that yet. But if Jamar Chase does it, I think you could make the argument for CD that he deserves $35 million a year. I would say that based on their importance to their teams, all three of those guys could make the argument they should get $35 million a year.
Yeah, well, and I mean,
the top number.
And again, we can say the $35 million a year, I don't think is necessarily probably the top problem with the CeeDee Lamb contract either. It's all about that, what money you're going to be able to get up front. And if Mike Brown and the Bengals can put together a better package than Jerry Jones is offering, so one of the more cash poor franchises can go ahead and put that money together versus the most valuable franchise in all of sports in history, then
$10 billion franchise.
That's that one where I have to look back at him and just go, why would I not want to go to free agency at this point? Like, I want to be here. I want to go compete for the Cowboys. But at what point are you telling me you're not worth it to me? I can make money without you, and I don't care. Then go, cool, trade me. Let me go somewhere else. The one of the cheapest franchises just paid a guy what I'm more than you're offering me. So I know I can get this from 50% of the teams in the league, if not more.
Yeah.
So you had it is not a good look. It is going to go into that, but that's where I think, that's that money again. If you get, it's not even the guarantees for me. It's that, what is that cash money up front and the Jamar Chase, if he gets it. And I'm assuming he's going to want money now because the contract itself won't take effect for another couple of years because he jumped the line. So he's going to want the money up front so he can get some money.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you're right. Cause the Mike Brown, who is the owner of the Bengals, at least you look at the net worth numbers and all that, he's the only owner in the NFL that's not worth $1 billion and has notoriously been, I don't know if you want to call it cheap, frugal, whatever. But they're conservative with their contract extensions for players. So I don't know if Jamar Chase is going to get that deal this week. Like you said, Chad Ochocinco was thinking this week, but I do think you're right, Patrick. It will have an effect and an impact on these CeeDee Lamb negotiations if he does it first. Now, will that be directly or indirectly? It depends on what the number he gets. And you're right about the guaranteed money. I believe Justin Jefferson got, I want to say he got like an $80 million like signing bonus.
So
it was some ridiculous.
This is
signing bonus.
What I just looked up. Joe Burrow got $40 million in signing bonus. So he didn't get a huge signing bonus considering he got 219 of his 275 guaranteed. So a pretty decent guaranteed amount on there, but did not necessarily get the break the bank, give me 80 million up front.
Yeah. So maybe they don't do that, and maybe that's the holdup, is that he wants more straight cash, homie, and that's just not some organizations like the Cowboys, they just don't operate that way. That's just not what they do. Yeah, okay, so Justin Jefferson also received $89 million fully guaranteed at signing. That is crazy. $110 million of the $140 million contract. It was a 4-year, $140 million contract. $110 million of it is guaranteed, but then he got a $89 million signing bonus. Like, if you're an owner, that's what you're upset about. You're like, why'd y'all do that? Don't do that.
$1.743 million due at signing.
At signing.
That means he puts his pen to paper and then he gets that little notification on his phone.
Yeah, from his bank. You have a deposit statement. And it's like, whoa. That's wild. I saw that number and I was like, but that was more. But I think Jordan Love got $75 million as a signing bonus. So that is a big signing bonus. But my point is, if you're CD and you're Jamar Chase, that's what you want.
Yeah. You
want the big signing bonus. And that's cash up front. He got 110 million guaranteed of the 140, which I think 110 was it's like 78% or something like that of the total contract. That's what you want. If you're Micah, you're like, I want that 80% of my contract guaranteed at least with a $80 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
And if you're Jerry, you got to give $3 $80 million. If I'm Dak, I want $100 million. Forget that. Right? I want $100 million signing bonus if I'm Dak. If a receiver can get $89 million, why can't I get $100 million? Yeah. I'm the quarterback. Nope. I want $100 million signing bonus. Matter of fact, I don't know what the contract's going to be, but that should be most of the guaranteed. I want it right when I sign.
Yeah.
And think about if you're Jerry, you got to give that. You're going to give essentially $250 million in just the signing bonuses of these 3 contracts that you keep these guys. Just sign. That's cash on hand. You have to have right there ready to transfer immediately. That is not the total guaranteed money in the contract, which you also have to have a percentage of that put aside. This is just the money on hand that you must give them right away, immediately when they sign their name on the dotted line.
So what's funny in that contract with Justin Jefferson, they only had to put another $15 million in escrow because there's only another $30 million guaranteed.
Yeah, you're right. That's
or 110 to $20 million.
90. They gave him 90 of the 110 million right then. Yeah, so and I wanted that. Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Get most of it up front.
And why wouldn't you want that though, Pastor? My point is I want that. If I'm top of the market at my position, I want that. I want that.
And again, I want that. We talk about they have financial guys now. These guys can make passive money with money now. You can make money with money instead of waiting to get it. You can go make more. And so you have a financial guy that if you say, I got an $80 million, here's 50 of it. Go turn that into more. Here's $50 million to go turn into more money. And by the time your contract runs out, that $50 million made you as much as you made on the rest of your contract.
Exactly.
And so you doubled up what you were going to make anyway, because if you have the right financial guy, now if you don't, you lose all your money. But if you have your right financial
you
guy,
ain't got to give him all the money. Just give him $20 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all good.
That can become more income for you. And that's another reason why some of these guys probably want that money up front is, I got guys telling me that they can turn $30 million into $100 million. So why am I waiting for it when I can get it done? And then I have even more money by the time of this, which is what I want because I'm trying to create generational wealth for my family.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. That's exactly what it is. And it's a smart way to go about it. And that's why I wonder if maybe that's it with CD. I think it could be that simple where it's like, no, I want 65% of the deal in a signing bonus, and I want another 20% or 15% also guaranteed. You know what I mean? Which I said that Justin Jefferson deal, people didn't really look at it. The reason it's like a mind-boggling, eye-popping deal is because of that signing bonus. I hadn't seen a signing bonus like that. I gotta go back and look at the other other than non-quarterbacks, the other non-quarterbacks who are making $30 million a year. And see, because 4 of them are wide receivers and 2 of them are defensive linemen. So it's just only 6 guys, and see what their signing bonuses were, because there's no way they got anything like that. That doesn't happen a lot at all. You just point out quarterbacks sometimes don't even get that. That's bigger than Jordan Love's signing bonus.
Joe Burrow's was $40 million.
Just the people that Justin Jefferson deal, it's a game changer if you really look at it. Like it is like what
they gave him like 90 of his 110 guaranteed up front.
And signing us like what?
At signing. That is crazy.
I gotta go look. Honestly, it might be worth looking at quarterbacks too, because now that you brought it up, the Joe Burrow deal, and see who's had a signing bonus that damn big.
Yeah, maybe the
biggest. $90 million signing bonus. I mean, I gotta see Lamar Jackson. I'll look up Lamar Jackson's. We'll do that in the break.
Well, but Lamar got short. He got short change because he had the franchise tag.
Yeah, I don't know who's got a bonus like that. That is, I'm telling you guys, that number to me. I was like, what? I think that honestly, that contract. I know people don't want to believe it. I think it's really, it might have kind of not gonna say stop, but I do think it has kind of derailed the wide receiver market just a tad. Because I think some of the guys are asking for that. I think CD's like, hey, can I own that deal? Why wouldn't you want that deal? Who doesn't want that deal? I want that deal. So we'll see what Jamar Chase's deal looks like. I'm actually hoping it gets done before CD now, because now I like Patrick's idea. Let's see the inner workings of that contract, the cash in it, the guarantees in it, and let's see if it's in the neighborhood of what the Cowboys could be offering, or in the neighborhood of that Jefferson. I don't think it'll be in the neighborhood of the Justin Jefferson deal. Like like I said, I still haven't seen a non-quarterback with a deal like that. That may be the biggest signing bonus we've seen for anybody. Like, I got to go back and look and check it out. All right, we come back. We'll dive into the player availability audio that we have from some of the Texas players. Malik Muhammad, also Hayden Connor, and Vernon Broughton spoke to the media yesterday. We'll hear from all three of those lifetime Longhorns, and we'll talk some Texas football on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. Some lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Okay, so Patrick did a little research, and so did I. And I think we're right. I believe the Justin Jefferson signing bonus is the largest in history, in NFL history. crazy. That is wild. If you go look at it, the largest signing bonus prior to that was $73 million by Jared Goff, $72.5 million with Lamar Jackson, $66 million with Dak Prescott, $65 million before that with Russell Wilson, and then Matt Stafford had a $60 million. That put him in the top 5. The Justin Jefferson signing bonus of $89 million is the most by far. That is wild. I'm telling you, I can't believe that. Like I said, that's a game changer, guys. It's an unprecedented deal from that standpoint. More people want that deal. I want that deal. So that's why I think we're getting some of these contracts maybe stalled a little bit, because even if you don't get the 80-something million, you're like, hey, can I get 60, 70 million? Still a lot. But his 89 million now is starting to make 60 million sound reasonable.
Well, and most of these other signing bonuses are not at signing. They're split over yearly. So most of these signing bonuses are basically, we're giving you a signing bonus, and every year at the beginning of the year, you get this check for $15 million. Is most of how most of these quarterbacks are set up. Is we're not going to give you, $70 million right now, but you will get it at the beginning of the year. Every year, you get another $15 million check. So it's split over 5 years. Like Dak got 66, but it wasn't at once. It was split over the 5 years of his contract.
But it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed money, and it's a signing bonus that's split, but it's still a signing bonus.
It's a courtesy to the Cowboys. It's a courtesy to the organization is what it is. Because I believe it is, you can demand it at signing because it is a signing bonus.
Yeah.
But the team is like, hey.
It's part of the negotiation.
It's guaranteed to you. Yes, exactly. But from what I read, the Justin Jefferson deal.
It said do it signing.
It said at signing. Like he got 80-something million, 88 million at signing. Like I said, I think that's a game changer because I believe if you're another big time wide receiver, why wouldn't you want that Justin Jefferson deal? Why wouldn't you
at least you go give me half of the signing bonus up front, and then you can split the rest of it out. But give me that check up front.
Give it to me, man. Like I said, I think this is. But we talked about how this is. They're now these agents and the players, and you talked about it too with the money managers. They're way more savvy than they used to be. And I think this is I bet this is what happened. I bet baseball has this all the time, and basketball probably too, where they get it right then and there. Like I get my money, fully guaranteed at signing. That you'll start seeing that more. Fully guaranteed at signing. And that 89 million is a big number. All right. Let's hear from some Texas football players who hopefully one day will be getting some big signing bonuses of their own. That we all want that big signing bonus. Don't you want a signing bonus? All right, that's awesome. That's just a sign that I agreed to it. Now you give me a bonus.
Hey, we're gonna bring you into this new job. By the way, here's triple what your salary is.
Yeah. Just for a bonus. And then on top of that, we'll give you the salary. I wish the real world worked like the sports world. That'd be great. I'm sure there are some great jobs where you actually do still get signing bonuses. But anyway, congrats to you, by the way, if you're getting one. That's good. Let's hear from Vernon Broughton. One day he's hoping to get one of his own. He recently got married, and he told the story of him scheduling his wedding on the day of the spring game, where it ended up coincidentally being on the same day. Trust me, planning the wedding, that was in the works way before somebody came up with a date for the spring game. And once the date is set, invitations are sent. Oh, you better not change that date. Bad foot to start out on in marriage if you want to reschedule it for a spring game. So Vernon Broughton was asked about that experience. Here's what he had to say.
Yes, I did. I got married in Dallas, Texas to my beautiful wife, Camille Broughton, which I love dearly, but yes.
Talk about what kind of went into that decision. I know that was kind of one of the big talking points around there.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Appreciate it. Before spring, I was planning to get married to my beautiful wife, Camille, after the spring game, but 2 months in advance before they announced the spring game, we didn't obviously I didn't know, but we was planning on to have the wedding after the spring game. Yeah, but yeah, so which is crazy, but
that was a business decision. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And she's gonna kick my butt if I went to that spring game. So yeah, exactly.
Yep. Every married man knows, like, dude, you reschedule your wedding, you might as well start talking to a divorce lawyer because it's inevitable. You start off your marriage that way. Smart man by Vernon Bryan, smart move there. But he also was asked about the difference between his new D-line coach Kenny Baker and his old D-line coach Bo Davis, who some actually, once called, Sark actually once called him the best D-line coach in the country. He was asked about the differences between the two.
Coach Baker, I'll say he's not as like, I'll say he's more technical. Like, I'll say like hands, footwork, he's more technical. He never lets that get by, but I say technical, he's more technical in the case. So.
I think he was not like that. He's not like, and I think he was about to maybe describe Bo Davis. He's like, no, what? I'll just keep it to Kenny Baker here. He's more technical. So I'm glad he did that. So he was asked to give an example of the kind of technical expertise or meticulous technique that Kenny Baker was teaching him, as opposed to Bo Davis. Here's the example that Vernon Broughton gave.
Yes, I say footwork. Like, let's say I'm a 3 tech, and I stop. I'm a right shade, right 3 tech, and I step with my left foot first. Like, he will coach all that. My hands, if my hand's not in his chest or outside the pad, he coaches all that, which I love because I needed that, and that's like improved my game so much, and I appreciate him for that. But yeah.
Some coaches are, like I said, some coaches are about more broad strokes, and some are very detail oriented. They want you, to show your work. Remember those teachers, the math teachers, show your work. Remember the teacher you had in your writing class? One just cared about your content and how great the content was, as long as it was a good story. It's like, oh, it's a good story. I love the inspiration. They're not about your grammar and the punctuation, but some teachers are like, oh no, punctuation got to be good, grammar's got to be good. They didn't give a damn about the content of the story. And so I think there are some coaches, they're worried about the technical expertise. Some coaches are like, hey, I need you to be inside leverage. As long as you accomplish, that, and you're inside leverage and you maintain it, they don't really bust your, what about how you did it and your footwork and your hand placement and where your eyes were. And they don't, your pad level, they just say, hey man, you accomplished it, good for you. But some coaches, they want to know, they want you to get there with the right footwork. They want you to get there with the right hand placement, things of that nature. One's not I think a better, more effective teaching. I don't think one's a better teaching style than the other or anything like that. It's just some coaches are different, and I've had both, by the way. I've had both. Okay, so let's get to Malik Muhammad and him talking about the pass defense for Texas. He talked about how have been working to improve the pass defense. It was one of the liabilities on defense for Texas last year. Here's the corner, Malik Muhammad.
I'll say we focusing more in on the details. We got our D-line straight. Man, I feel like we got a great defense this year, but mainly honing in on the details.
Honing on the details, and a lot of those details will be focused on tackling, improving open field tackling, limiting yak yards, run after the catch opportunities. Here is Malik Muhammad talking about their priority in the offseason and in training camp on tackling.
Yes, definitely. That was one of the details that we focused in on. Definitely tackling, getting our drops right, just knowing our opponents, and just playing together and communicating.
He was also asked about some of the other pieces in that secondary, and had some really flattering things to say about Jahdae Barron and his connection and communication with Jahdae Barron in that secondary. Here is Malik Muhammad.
Yeah, and we got a great coach, Terry Joseph. Me and Jahdae are like two savvy players, so like we just know like how to play with each other, how to piggyback off each other, how to play with the safeties, how to communicate with the linebackers, and just play together as a whole defense.
And a new member to that defense is Jalen Gilbo. He's been getting a lot of work with the number ones and the starters at the nickel position, the slot corner. And Malik Muhammad had some really interesting things to say about Jalen Gilbo and his ascent within that secondary.
Gilbo, heck of a player, heck of a player. He played a big role in this defense, along with everybody else. But yeah, Gilbo, he had a great training camp.
Yeah, Gilbo he's gonna play. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I haven't heard about him playing anywhere other than nickel. And if he's playing at nickel, then Jahdae Barron's gonna be playing elsewhere. And so I assume Jahdae Barron's gonna be playing at corner and maybe even some safety at times. It's gonna be interesting to see exactly what they do in those combination of pieces they use. But pass rush is gonna make everybody's job in the secondary a lot easier. And now Texas actually has guys that they can count on being able to put the pressure and collapse the pocket from the edge. Here is Malik Muhammad talking about the pressure in the pass rush that has improved this training camp.
You can say that.
Yeah.
You can say that, yeah.
What's kind of the complementary aspect of having a pass rush that could get to the quarterback, make your life a little bit easier there?
I mean, yeah, with the guys we brought in, like Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, we got Barron, we got Ethan Burke, Binkley. Those guys have been doing a great job getting to the football. And I actually have felt that in these past scrimmages.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Trust me, I remember being a young cornerback and Casey Hampton and Sean Rogers on the line. You ain't got to cover for very long. Your internal clock speeds up a little bit. Silas Bowden he has really made some wow plays so far in training camp. Didn't come into the spring, but there's been a lot of conversation about his playmaking ability. Here's what Malik Muhammad, the corner, had to say about Silas Bowden.
You better not miss. He got jets. He will go to the house. You better not miss.
Have you seen it as example when someone has missed or what has happened?
I don't really want to speak on it, but I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah. If I was him, I'd be like, it wasn't me. All right, just know that it wasn't me. Maybe it was him, but he said he's seen it with his own eyes. Silas Bowden putting guys on skates out there. Let's talk about the offensive line a little bit. Hayden Connor spoke with the media as well, and he did reveal that the offensive line has a goal this year, and their goal is to win the Joe Moore Award.
For sure, yeah. We've got all the requirements to make the Joe Moore in our wall when we leave, so we always slap it on the way out. So it's something we think about for sure.
I would have asked a follow about what the requirements are. Maybe he'd have been no comment there. That's personal. I bet one of them is allow a sack or fewer, one sack or fewer per game. You go look at the Joe Moore Award winners. They're always in single digits when it goes to sack allow, something that Patrick brought up in the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the Day earlier this month. All right, let's go with the standard. We've heard Sark now, echo that old school saying that some of the long time old school Longhorns have always said the standard is the standard. He was asked what that means. Here's what Hayden Connor decides to say. The standard is the standard. Here's what the standard is.
Exactly what Malik said. It's accountability, discipline, toughness, and commitment all the time. All the time.
There you go. They basically said something. He added accountability, I believe, when Malik Muhammad said just discipline, toughness, and commitment all the time. And he added accountability, discipline, toughness, commitment all the time. I like that. ADTC all the time. I like that. Accountability, discipline, toughness, commitment. That's all I can remember it. ADTC all the time. That's what the standard is for this group. All right, I'll run with that. He also was asked about the communication on the O-line. This is cut 43, Patrick, for you. And I love this quote. I want to play this one. I know we're up against it because this quote is so good. This could apply to any group or unit that has to work together in football. And honestly, probably not just football. You probably can apply this to other sports too. Listen to what he says Kyle Flood describes as how they all need to be seeing the same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if we go out there and we all play with 5 set of eyes, we're gonna screw up. We're not gonna play well. So Flood always preaches, 5 guys playing with 1 set of eyes. Right. So if we go out there and we've got a call and 2 dudes think it's a different call, then we're not on the same page and it's not going to be good. So playing with the same set of eyes and trusting that the dude next to me is going to do the right thing.
Nice. Like that. 5 guys, 1 set of eyes. Damn, that's good. You can do that in basketball. You can apply that in basketball. Like you can apply that a lot of stuff. 5 DBs, nickel package, 5 guys, 1 set of eyes. We all got to be seeing the same thing. I love that saying. I'm going to steal that. That is good stuff. Man, makes me think about Five Guys. Five Guys Burgers. Do they have an NIL deal with some O-line in college football?
No,
Shouldn't
they
they?
should. They
It's Five
should.
Guys. It's an O-line. They should be a sponsor of the Joe Moore Award. And then they should be like, these are the best 5 guys, all right, in college football on the O-line. 5 Guys, Burgers, Fries. I mean, is anybody made? Come on. I can't. This has to already have happened somewhere. I'm not the first one to think of this, right? Come on.
I don't know.
5 Guys? Come on, 5 Guys. What are you waiting on? Are they in college football? Or do they have an NIL endorsement? Come on.
They
O-line
have
would love it.
they have a bowl game yet?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there you go. 5 Guys. Oh, that's like actually pretty good. 5 Guys bowl. I like that. It's not bad. But anyway, I think that the Joe Moore Award, there you go. 5 Guys, Burgers, and Fries. They should sponsor the Joe Moore Award for the best O-line 5 guys in college football. I would love that. All right. Anyway, make it happen. We'll come back. We'll get into off the record on the other side. Oklahoma State. I hate to admit it, but I like the idea. We'll discuss it when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some off the record conversation. So I saw this story a couple of places yesterday, and at first I thought it was like a fake story, and I wanted to see it at a more credible source. And I was like, all right, it's from a credible source. So Oklahoma State is thinking outside the box in terms of raising NIL funds for their athletes. So the Cowboys announced Tuesday that QR codes are going to be put on helmets this season that will link back to the Oklahoma State NIL collective, Pokes with a Purpose. It's going to link to their donation page, and fans can make a general donation or give credit to a certain player, such as running back Ollie Gordon, on this site, Pokes with a Purpose. So you can donate, and they can do it through the QR code. Now, I don't know how good the phones are out. I don't know if maybe they're gonna put the QR code on the big screen or something like that. I don't know how, like, to get it on the back of the helmet. I know that'd be tough. I guess you can get it. If they
stand
do
still.
it on television,
still.
yeah, I guess the cameraman. Like, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I'm sure the technology exists and they can, of course, do it. But man, QR codes. Can we admit that the QR code COVID basically just boosted the QR code and really it turned it into something that's mainstream now that everybody has to know how to use.
I think
everybody went to the QR code then.
I think it
I don't even
also
know if people knew what a QR code was before that.
That's true. You're 100% right. I think it also made people hate QR codes, though. I don't think people enjoy, hey, man, pull your camera out and spend 4 minutes trying to fiddle with this thing. And then someone's going to pop up on your phone that's like, hey, do you want to download? And you're like, no, I don't want to download something. I don't even know what this is. You made me blow on my phone. I think so. There's a point in it where where you're just trying to get a menu at a restaurant. They're like, well, could we have your social security number? And you're like, no, you can't. Arby's, tell me what's on the menu. I said roast beef. We know, but I think there's a more understanding what it is and a abject hatred of them as well. So I'm not sure putting them on a helmet is going to be it.
No, that's true. Because I remember, the parking's like that now. You'll go like pull up downtown, and just be like, oh, use the QR code, and you're like, oh, I got to get an app now, the QR code, just to park in a parking lot or something.
I do like this.
And pay online. It is. You're right. That's a good point. I guess it is kind of frustrating.
I am going to give a idea to a defensive player. If you make a big defensive play, like a big sack or a big stop for a loss on like 4th down, and you get him off the field and that guy's laying on the ground and you see his QR code, just fake a picture of it. Just take a picture on the field of his QR code.
That is a good way
him of like, yeah, no, I put you on the ground to take a picture of this.
Let's see if the refs are if they're savvy enough to get that's taunting. You'd be like, it's like he's taunting him, right? That's the QR code. So by the way, this is not the first time this has happened. Actually, give props to UCF. They actually wore QR codes on their spring game jerseys in 2022 that link back to their social media channels. Now, reach back social media accounts. And schools have also flashed QR codes on video boards connecting fans with collectives. But this is the first time that a school has actually done it with the players on, in a game. Actually, an actual game is going to be on their helmets. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to work and how logistically if it's going to be easy, but I like the idea. I'm not gonna lie, I like the idea. I especially if you can give directly to the player that had a good play. Like if I can go directly and basically tip the player. If I can just go like, oh man, that was a hell of a tackle for loss, $10. You know what I mean? Like if that's the way we're working here, if we're getting toward that model, I love that model. Just straight up tip drills. And you're just making plays out there, and fans are like, "Oh, I'm giving $5." Like all of you, these fans in the stadium, each fan to give like $1 for a player that made a good play, a game-saving tackle or something. Boom, 50 G's overnight. Boom, I love it. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the case, oh man, I think that'd be amazing. I don't know if that would work and how that works tax-wise and all that kind of stuff with the NIL collective, but I hope that's what they're moving toward. And if not, then put their Venmo on the damn screen. Does that mean they'll just give it to Venmo?
Does that mean that
a Venmo NIL deal?
Does that mean the quarterback has to tip out his lineman at the end of the game too, like a
waiter
tipping out?
That would be awesome. You give them like 20-30% goes to the O-line. That's the O-line.
Yeah, the running back makes a big run at the end. He's like,
I love it.
I get it, but y'all ain't getting tipped nothing.
I love that, man. Or if you're a punt returner, and hey, you didn't do it on your own. There was some good blocks. When your boys had a key block, you be like, hey, I got 10 G's from that punt return. Hey man, I'm gonna give you $500. I'll give you $500 or $1,000. You know what I mean? Appreciate that. That's block. I don't get it without you. Oh man, if we're going that way, I would love that. Basically turn college football into a tip drill. That would be fantastic. And it would be Gundy. I want to know how he feels about this because he's the one that came out recently and said no NIL negotiations during the season. Like, do not come to him, which by the way, I agree with. I'm sure a lot of coaches feel that way. But then you have this, new idea, a creative idea where they're going to be able to at least contribute to the NIL collective based on the performance of the players. What if they don't like what the players are doing?
Yeah, that's the problem with Venmo. That's the problem with Venmo is they be sending requests for money.
Yeah, I was about to say you can't do Venmo, I guess.
I need my ticket price back.
You get the messages in there too.
Yeah, I need the price of admission back because you fumbled the ball.
People would like tip you $1 just so they can leave you a dirty message.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta get because I had to leave $1 just so I can leave the message. But the message is you suck and you're trash. All right, we'll come back.
Here's my 2 cents. Give up football.
Exactly. Oh man. That'd be great. All right. I love where we're going in college football. That'll be fun. I think Texas may do something like Texas. I believe probably shows the QR code so you can donate to the Texas One Fund. I bet.
Yeah.
They probably showed that in the stadium, but I don't know.
I bet Texas could have been a nice app or something that you can download and you can just use the app, or you can.
Oh, that's still a good idea.
And then get the app sponsored, and then the app makes money, and then that makes money. And the players get money, and
that's a better idea. Have the app ready, and then you can have the players in the app, and the player makes a good play. Like,
it just pops up. The stats pop up. It goes 7-yard run. Jaden Blue.
Go, yeah,
go, tip.
Yeah, it's linked to your credit card already. Tip. I like that. Good job, Jaden Blue. Honestly, dude, I love that idea. I think we need to try to pursue this. That's a good idea. It's not bad at all. All right, we'll come right back. That's why we call him the Idealionaire, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come right back. We got Sellers ATX coming up. My man Nick Shuley is going to drop in and talk about some of the very talented musicians and the groups that are coming to town and where you can see them. We'll also get into some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets as well, and Rod's rant of the day. We'll load it as usual right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a hump day edition of the Rodcast, but also a One Artist Wednesday. That's when my man Patrick, goes deep down the rabbit hole into the catalog of one specific artist, group, or band. And today we are celebrating Led Zeppelin as the featured artist, group, I should say, for One Artist Wednesday. So we appreciate him. We also appreciate him coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is posted. You can go check it out for yourself on the X account at the Horn ATX. Patrick, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day today. Which team in the AFC is the most overrated going into the season? We gave you a couple options. You can throw yours others on the text line, 512-447-3776, or at the Horn ATX on X, where this is posted. We gave you the Jets, the Texans, the Ravens, and the Dolphins. Right now, the Jets at 53% taking this one. That is the pretty clear answer, I think, for most people, is that people are feeling pretty high. The question is, the Jets, because, again, I took these off of Vegas's odds for wins. And so I took all teams that were either 9.5 or 10.5 in that range of 10 wins and seeing if they were going to be a 10-win team to be overrated or underrated. And the Jets feel like they're the ones that are the odd man out of the group. And you say they shouldn't be in that conversation with some of the other 10-win teams that are in there. The Dolphins are next. People not quite sure if this team is going to regress maybe a little bit to Dolphins with Tua. And, we'll get into some more Tua talk, I'm sure, but Tua and if he can be the quarterback now that he's skinnier, he's lost some weight, he's coming back.
Got him a deal too. Huh?
Got him a deal.
Tua.
Good to go.
Got him a deal, man. Yeah.
Texans having to play that first place schedule, see if that was an anomaly last year or if that's a trend for the future. And the Ravens coming in last place with 5%. The main one of that, I've seen a lot of that. They did lead the NFL in turnover margin. That's a sign that sometimes things the ball doesn't bounce your way in the next year. Also, the Ravens have had a history of sometimes looking really good one year and not as good the next year, maybe slowing it back down and not being able to continue that trend of upward growth. But we will see. Lamar Jackson is a really good player.
I didn't predict that Lamar was going to win the MVP, but I did predict that he was going to have one of his best years, if not his best year, because he was in that Todd Monken system. And remember, I was like, it was the first time that he was away from that Greg Roman system where they were having power packages and tight ends and multiple back sets. They were going to spread it out. And Todd Monken is basically an air raid guy, guys. He's not from the air raid coaching tree, but he's like he's basically kind of an admirer of it. Right? He's kind of an admirer of the air raid coaching tree. So they run a lot of air raid concepts. And imagine that all the spread concepts you get with the air raid, except more verticality with it, and a quarterback like that can run. It's hell on wheels to try to stop, because you got to defend every blade of grass on the football field because of the speed. Now they're drafting at wide receiver. And then in addition to that, how am I going to defend unprecedented world-class elite speed at quarterback too? You can't do it.
No,
you can't do it.
And
that's what, So
that
was his first year in the system, guys. First year. That was Todd Monken's first year. Now the second year, I think he'll be even better in it. So that's why I don't think the Ravens are going to have a regression.
No,
because of that.
We did also get a text in asking about QR codes for their favorite sportscasters and announcers. And I think, we just need to get our QR codes too, Rod, so we can get tipped when we have good takes. and then we'll get a lot of requests for money and people yelling at us on the back end. We'll get a lot of those 2 cents you suck tweet as well.
Yeah, trust me. I've read that text line. There will be more hate donations and stuff like that. And there will be people giving us money for our great takes, but we appreciate that, no doubt. Speaking of QR codes, I want to ask Nick Shuley about this, because Nick Shuley is in the NIL space. He does a great job. Well, Nick Shuley is into a lot of different things, but he also helps us out with Setlist ATX. So when we bring that up, we'll ask Nick Shuley about that QR code story from Oklahoma State and ask him what he thinks about it. But first, before we get to Setlist ATX, and we'll also get to the Tua story. For those who haven't heard, I'm sure by now maybe you have, though. Tua was very critical of Brian Flores' coaching style when he was head coach with the Miami Dolphins. And since that Dan Le Batard interview that's going viral, Brian Flores has responded to that criticism And I thought he was very contrite in his response. But we'll talk about it. Talk about coaching styles, and I'll tell you why they never should have hired Brian Flores to be a head coach anyway. So we'll get to that. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros lost to the Red Sox 6-5 last night. Both pitchers struggled to get going, allowing 3 runs each in the first inning. Yanni Diaz hit a game-tying homer in the 5th inning, but Jarren Duran got the go-ahead shot in the 8th, and the Red Sox held on to even the series at 1 apiece. The Astros do get good news, as Justin Verlander will return today, starting the game for Houston for the first time since early June when he was placed on the IL, dealing with a neck injury, while Alex Bregman could make his return to the lineup as well today. And the Rangers dropped their second game against the Pirates 4-0. Cody Bradford pitched 7 innings, giving up 3 and striking out 8, but the Rangers offense could never get going, only getting 3 hits in the game. The Rangers look to take the series in the rubber match today with Andrew Heaney getting the start, and that is your Horn headlines.
Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Appreciate those. Let's not waste any time. Let's bring in our friend and yours as well, the one and only Nick Shuley, to help us out with Setlist ATX. Hey, what's going on, Nick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us as always. And I want to get your thoughts before we get into Setlist ATX about a couple of things, actually. I want to get your thoughts about this story from Oklahoma State. Apparently, they are going to have QR codes that are going to be put on the helmets of the players this season during games that'll link back to their collective, which is Pokes, at least the school sanctioned collective, which is Pokes with a Purpose. And it'll link back to the page, and fans can make a general donation or give credit to a certain player. It doesn't say if the money's going to a player. It just said they give credit to a player. So I think you donate, and you be like, I donated because of that Ollie Gordon run. It was great. I don't know how that works. What are your thoughts about this, number one? And does Texas have something like that already with the QR code thing working?
Man, I think it's super smart. I actually really like it. I saw the comments on it. I saw they got a lot of hate on it, but I think it's pretty forward thinking, man. I mean, granted, it's going to be, I did love all the tweets about like people like, trying to like zoom their phone in to figure out how to lock it in and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny, but I love the idea. And I mean, just if you think about the PR hit they got off of that and the credit they're getting within the media, I do think it's a very good thing. And it is trailblazing. We actually, like in the early days of NIL, tried to get that through, but the laws and everything were just so fresh and so new that everybody was afraid to do anything. And I mean, getting anything on a uniform or a helmet is so hard. I mean, it's tough. That's prime real estate, man. So but I do think it's a great idea. I think you're going to start seeing more of that. I think that one of the issues that they would face with that is the whole pay for play piece, which is, somebody gets a good run and they're like, I want to give this to that person. I think that's why they keep it more general. It goes to the general fund. So, Ollie Gordon might get that 50-yard touchdown run, and there might be a lot of donations after that, but you can't sit there and be like, hey, I'm giving this because of this play and I want it to go to this guy.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're right about that. It's a good point. And with the new financial framework changing in college football, who knows, you may get more flexibility with stuff like that. But I'm with you. I like the move. I thought it was pretty progressive of Oklahoma State. And I don't use that term very much talking about Oklahoma State or Mike Gundy. All right. Before we get to the Setlist ATX, I want to ask you one question. How do you feel about Led Zeppelin? Give me your Led Zeppelin take, because that is our featured group for One Artist Wednesday.
Man, I think it was funny because the drum intro to the last song is the same drum intro as Little Richard's Keep a Knockin'. So it starts off the exact same way. And I thought it was Little Richard because I've been delinquent today and I actually haven't been listening for once because I was editing video. But so I needed my audio on. But I did think it was that. But there are pieces of Led Zeppelin and moments of Led Zeppelin I love, but I never became an enormous fan or a psycho for that band, which so many people are, but I do respect them and love them and think they're super talented.
Yeah. No, I know you are a aficionado, a music aficionado. So I know you got a take on Led Zeppelin. Like I didn't even know you were a fan or anything, but I know you got a take on them. All right, let's get your take about a lot of the other musical acts that'll be coming in town for a set list ATX. We start on Wednesday, usually right here on Hump Day, and go through the week. So what you got for us first today via set list ATX?
Yeah, big one out at the Moody Amphitheater. This is the outdoor Moody spot, which is it's a big 90s rock show for a lot of people. The band 311 will be here, and they've got two big kind of radio rock bands opening for them, AWOL Nation and Neon Trees. So that should be a cool show. Be nice and warm out there. And then speaking of nice and warm, another one outside at Germania Amphitheater. You're going to see a lot of people dressed in black, sweating quite a bit because Megadeth will be out at the amphitheater there. And then a really cool psych rock show, Primus, who are a very interesting band. If you've never seen them, they put on a great show. They'll be at ACL Live. And then two big hip hop shows tonight as well, with Snow the Product being at Emos and Ski Mask the Slump God over at Stubbs. It's a big night in music.
Okay. Yeah.
And then tomorrow, a person who's gotten a lot of buzz recently, Sierra Farrell. She's a big up and coming country artist. She was actually featured on Post Malone's new record, which is a big placement for her. So she'll be over at Stubbs. And then the man who probably had the song of the summer will be out at the Austin Gambler Days at the Moody Center. Shabuzi will be doing a show there.
Shabuzi. Okay, I know I'm not cool anymore. What's the song? What song is it that was so popular?
Man, it's the one. It's the one that said, "Somebody pour me up a double shot of whiskey." That song.
Okay, I think I know
everybody in the club
about.
getting tipped, whatever. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Right. You've heard it. You know it because they play it everywhere.
All right.
Yeah. So good chance to see that one. I have not listened to his other music, so I have no idea or maybe he'll just play that song 5 times. Who knows? So, I did see Bubba Sparks. I remember when he first came to Austin and he had that song "Ugly" with Timbaland. And
I remember Bubba. Yeah,
he opened the show at Stubbs with "Ugly," and then he closed the show at "Ugly." And by the way, he only played 6 songs.
He's a smart man though. He's like, hey, no, I got to make sure they hear my banger. They came here for this.
I tell you what, man, the crowd was not mad about it. So that they wanted to see one song.
It's an old David Spade joke, which will tell you how old it is. He's like, if I go see Big Country, you better open, close, and play it a few times in the middle. Play Big Country.
Oh, man. he gave the people what they want. That's important.
That's for sure.
And then a couple big shows from, at least in my world, on Saturday. Get Up Kids, who are one of my favorite bands of all time, will be at the Mohawk with the Smoking Popes. And then a little cool show called Meadow Fest out at Far Out Lounge with some good Latin funk artists, Grupo Fantasma, Superfonicos, and more. That'll be a really cool show, minus the weather. And then good Austin country artist Bree Bagwell. She'll be out at the Hot Spot. And then a guy, if you're a fan of Tom Petty, I think this guy is kind of a younger version, up and coming of Tom Petty. His name's Aaron Lee Tashjian, and he'll be playing at ACL Live. He just has a really simple way of writing that is super catchy and great, which is kind of why I always love Tom Petty.
Nice compliment.
And then a TikTok artist who exploded. They probably would be mad at me for calling him a TikTok artist. Michael Markagi will be playing at Scoot In. He's kind of more of like the folk. He's on that Noah Khan ascension in that, he kind of came from nowhere, blew up on TikTok, and now has got this big folky following. So that'll be one to check out.
2024, the genre TikTok folk.
I know.
No, it's crazy. Like, I mean, that people that now artists are being discovered on TikTok. Like, it's just that's the thing now.
Man, he like teased the single and it was just like 30 seconds of it and did it for like a month, and it just kept getting more and more and more and more, explosion from that. And now he's playing Scoot In, which is, a couple thousand people, and it's his first tour ever, I think.
It's pretty badass.
But I could be wrong on that. But he's probably been playing for 30 years and he'd yell at me. But that's these overnight sensations that are 15 years in the making.
Hey, that's exactly right.
But hey, he found the algorithm. And then on Sunday, a really cool Mexican synth pop band, Mania, spelled Moenia, will be at Emos. And then a really cool kind of 50s rock style band, the Mellows, will be over at Sagebrush, which is a very cool spot. And then blues rock prodigy from back in the day. He's a lot older now. He originally went by Raw Dog, but Eric Gales will be at Antone's.
Yeah, man. Eric Gales crazy. Like his story of, playing guitar a lot in prison is how like
I didn't know this.
Yeah, he came out, but he's He played. He's awesome. He's a really, really good guitar player. And so, yeah. But yeah, there you can go watch his early stuff. There's one that I have a friend that played with him on Arsenio Hall back in the day. So that's some good stuff.
Damn.
Man,
he was playing on Arsenio Hall back in the day, so he has been at it a long time.
He's been around for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on Tuesday, a band, a new wave kind of punk band, Squeeze, which they gave birth to a lot of the artists that I love. And I actually discovered them by some of the artists I love covering them. And they were kind of in the 70s doing that kind of new wave, kind of the Clash. And they'll be with Boy George at Moody Amphitheater. I feel like Boy George has been popping up a lot recently.
Is he making a comeback or something?
I don't know that he ever went away. It just kind of got a little quieter.
I just stopped paying attention to Boy George.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
on me. Okay.
He hasn't had a big hit probably since the 80s. And then some of my favorite Austin kind of folk singer-songwriters, Evan Charles and William Harris Graham, will be over at the Hole in the Wall closing out this week's set list.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the time, Nick, for the set list ATX. And we know you're pretty busy. Football season coming up. What are you most excited about football season? Are you going to any of the games? Do you go to Texas games, or you just
go
to the tailgates and experiences?
No, I go to all the games. I have tickets. I've had them forever. But they're on the east side of the stadium, so it gets a little sweaty over there. But
it does.
I'm a little fair skinned too, so it's I look a little red during the season.
No doubt. Feel forward, Nick, as you go. Gets a little red. Hey, Nick, man, thanks for the time. We know you got stuff going on, but we appreciate what you do for us. We'll talk to you down the line. I'll probably talk to you sooner than that. So thanks, brother.
Thank y'all so much for always having me. Appreciate it.
That's my man, Nick Shuley. He always comes on for Setlist ATX, and hopefully you guys can get out to some of those great shows, man. Always keeping us. I always feel like I'm cooler after the Setlist ATX stuff, because every now and then in like conversations with people, I will hear some of these things. I'll be like, oh, and I really don't even have anything to add. But I'm just like, oh, Nick Shuley comes on with us, and he brought that guy up, and I was like, okay,
no, I've heard good things. Very good.
Yes, basically that's all I can say. But I know that my man Nick is always he's got the pulse. He's always got his finger on the pulse when it comes to the music, and we appreciate him. All right, we come back. Let's take the break early, and then we'll always come back and have a big long segment. Next segment will include Rod's rant in there, and we'll talk about a trend that I've noticed in preseason. We'll also get to the audio of Tua criticizing Brian Flores and his response. And I'll give you my take on that as well. And we'll get into some Texans and some Cowboys news notes and nuggets. I had a couple of notes that I want to share with you about the Cowboys and the Texans. So we'll just throw it all, one big smorgasbord of a segment coming up next segment right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Coming back on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about our friends, Dr. Greg Eckert and his wonderful team. He is the best dentist in Austin. Every time someone asks me, do I know a good dentist? I said, nope, I know a great dentist, the best dentist, Dr. Eckert and his wonderful team. It doesn't matter exactly what your issues are. I initially went there for a cleaning and just a routine checkup. And during that checkup, they were very thorough, so thorough, in fact, that they actually found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways. And that was something that I was a bit anxious about, stressed out about. It was actually on the verge of being potentially a disastrous situation for me, but it was not. I was in great hands. My friends over at Dr. Eckert's office, they made sure I was educated about the entire process, comfortable with the entire process, got the procedure scheduled, got it done. I was back at work within 2 days. And my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better, thanks to Dr. Eckert and his wonderful team. So hopefully for you, it's not as serious as having all of your wisdom teeth removed. Hopefully it's just something as simple as a cleaning or a checkup or general dentistry, teeth whitening. But if it is a dentures or porcelain crowns or veneers or dental implants or even full mouth reconstruction or root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available, you just know you'll be in great hands, the best hands of Dr. Greg Eckert and his wonderful team. They can even give you a brand new smile today in just one day. Brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures first until they complete your permanent smile, and then you'll get your permanent smile and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. So we're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced and that you need dentures or you already have dentures, you can learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day, and it's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life, and Dr. Eckert wants to change your life for the better. I know it sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U. So give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into a couple of topics. I got a few things I want to throw out there. First, let's discuss Tua's criticism of Brian Flores and his harsh coaching style. And then we'll hear from Brian Flores and his response to that. But first, here's Tua. He was on the Dan Levitard show, and he was being asked about his time with the Dolphins under Brian Flores before Mike McDaniel got there. And here's what he had to say about the harsh coaching style of Brian Flores.
Simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best, whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more. You start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
All right, so he has that to say, terrible person, and he's describing Brian Flores. And so Brian Flores was asked about it, of course, at his most recent media availability. I believe this was yesterday. And here is Brian Flores initially showing contrition and wishing Tua the best.
That said, I think there's some other questions that are some other things that you guys want to talk about, so I'll address those too. Specific to the comments that were made by Tua, I just want to say, look, I'm happy, genuinely happy, genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had, and I really wish him nothing but the best. And I think player relationships are very important to me. I think that's kind of the foundation of coaching. I mean, I got into coaching because I was impacted as a young guy by my high school coaches, my college coaches, going all the way to Pop Warner. I got into coaching because I want to make that same kind of impact, positive impact, pour into young people, help them become, as KO says all the time, the best versions of themselves. And that's really my goal always in coaching. So I wish nothing but the best to Tua. Really more than anything, I'm just focused on the Vikings, the 2024 Vikings, the players we have. You saw a couple of guys up here, just a couple minutes ago, Metellus and HP. I think, their leadership, their friendship is important to me, and I'm just, I'm excited about this group.
He's also asked about probably the most biting, if you will, part of the harshest part of that criticism from Tua was calling him a terrible person. He was asked to respond to that specific part of Tua's statement. Here's what Brian Flores had to say.
The words you use were terrible person. I'm just curious how that hit you when you saw it.
Look, I'm human, so that hit me in a way that wasn't. I wouldn't say it was positive for me, but at the same time, I've got to use that and say, hey, how can I grow from that? How can I be better? And that's really where I'm at from that standpoint. Do I feel like that's me? No, but how can I grow from that situation and create a world where that's not the case that anyone says that about Brian Flores?
All right, so it's a lot to obviously unpack. I'll just say this about Brian Flores. I don't know if that should be, even if it is accurate the way Tua described things, fully accurate. It shouldn't be necessarily an indictment on him as a coach, because I hadn't really heard much about him before that or after that in terms of him having issues with relationships with players. And he did seem like he was, like I said, remorseful there. But he also said he was open to speaking to Tua, even though they were both busy, maybe after the season to try to resolve it. It's something that's heavy on Tua's heart. Obviously, he brought it up with Dan Lebatard years later, even after now signing his new deal. And now he's had success and nobody's throwing the bust tag on him. And it's still something that he felt compelled to discuss and bring up. So it's something they probably both, and now it's on Brian Flores' heart as well. It should be when somebody's calling you a terrible person. And that's something you take pride in. I think everybody should do an inventory, whether you disagree with that person or not. If somebody perceives you as being a terrible person, maybe time for a man in the mirror moment, just to check things out, a little inventory to make sure, that you are doing, that you are being considerate and, to everybody. And even though coaches, and I think I always go back to that Bucky quote about coaching. He always said, players don't care how much you know, so they know how much you care. You do have to, at one point early on in the relationship, establish that you care for the well-being of the player, because you're going to come off harsh. You're going to be, obviously very critical of them, and there's a lot of emotion involved. And, football can be an emotional game. It can be a game that I think kind of, forces, some coaches to approach it from an old school kind of hard line approach. And I think that is softening, by the way. I don't think that's every coach now, but I think that's the old ways of coaching, which Brian Flores is probably about. They err on the side of being, hard lined and harsh and critical in their coaching style. And I think it's all good. You can be that way if the player understands, okay, they're coming from a place of love. They care about me. They only want me to be the best version of myself. That's why they're being hard on me. That's why, the coach is being really critical on me. That's why, he's being so tough on me. And then you can process it in that way. But if you don't think the coach cares about you at all, you just view all that stuff as them isolating you and them picking on you and them bullying you. And I think for Tua, that may be what was lost in translation for Brian Flores. At one point, he didn't have that sit down like, hey, me and you, man, I care about you as a person. I do. Sark's culture is unique because of that. Remember, they call it the culture of vulnerability. Have their Culture Wednesdays. They sit down with, different coaches and players on the team. They don't discuss football. They just talk about what they're going through. It's very therapeutic. They talk about, what is happening in their lives, what's important in their lives. And the belief is that when teammates and coaches too, when you find out about, what essentially a person is going through, you find out, what trials and tribulations a person has faced, what has essentially made them, right? What has made the essence of them, right? What has led to them being in this moment now as a student athlete at Texas. When you learn all that, you relate to them more and you care about them naturally a little bit more, the more you learn about them. And then you know how to motivate them. When they need encouragement, when they need support, what to tap into, because what matters most to them in their lives. And therefore, everybody's got something different that motivates them, or a different purpose that they believe they're living for in their life, and that kind of stuff. And when you get to relate to them, that's that culture. You got to be vulnerable, though. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be willing to open up and share that with your teammates and the coaches. But if you do, then they receive it. Then they can relate to you more, and you can relate to each other. You care about each other more. And then when the fit hits the fan in the games or in practices, when you're having a bad day or you had a bad play, they know how to genuinely relate to you, to pick you up, to tap into that purpose, to tap into that motivation. And even if they are holding you accountable in a critical, harsh way, it's coming from love. It's coming from love because they know you and they care about you. So I think that's what might have been missing with the Brian Flores thing. Don't think Brian Flores is a bad guy. But this is why I wouldn't hire Brian Flores to be the head coach anyway. You don't hire coaches from the Belichick tree. It ain't going to, nope. At the time, I said it's not going to work out. And I didn't know anything about Brian Flores. I just know he's from that Belichick coaching tree. And one thing we know about the Belichick coaching tree is the example that they have, that they hold in high esteem as the standard, is Bill Belichick. So they all want to coach like Bill Belichick. And one thing we know about Bill Belichick, he was a very harsh, hardline coach, right? We know that because even Tom Brady and his ex-wife said Tom Brady never got shown any love. All right, he didn't get enough love there, not enough appreciation. Even after winning Super Bowls, after becoming the GOAT, Belichick never changed. And honestly, the one who changed was Brady. Brady went from being a sixth-round quarterback to being a superstar celebrity quarterback and the GOAT. Brady was the one that changed. Belichick didn't change. But you can also argue that it worked against him. There was no evolution by Bill Belichick at any point. And I think ultimately that hurt him and it hurt his coaching tree. The coaching tree, think about the Belichick guys. They're very abrasive, right? They're very old school and hard line, where you're talking about Brian Flores and him coaching Tua. Bill O'Brien, he used to call him Teapot, cussing out fans, cussing out players, cussing out other coaches. All right. Bill O'Brien could get along with anybody with the Texans. All right. It ultimately couldn't even get along with Jack Easterby, the guy that he brought in that helped him rise to power. Didn't get along with him either. Tupac had to go, but he was very abrasive, right, in his manner and his style. Some of the other coaches for that, you go look at, Josh McDaniels had his issues, right, with players and just him trying to manage teams. Like he never really, as a coach, was, in my opinion, I don't think he ever evolved right into being a high level coach, even though he got multiple opportunities. And you can go down the list, Matt Patricia, and you can go Joe Judge and Mangini and Charlie Rice. We can go on, but the coaching tree is a disaster, and for two reasons. Because they want to be like Bill Belichick, all right? And Bill Belichick was old school and he was hardline. But what balanced the Belichick way and the Belichickian model was the Tom Brady effect, right? The TB12 element. It balanced. It kept the Belichickian way from becoming too acidic and toxic. So it balanced it out, literally. And when you had that balance, it worked really well. And that was the key to the Patriot way. But with Belichick, in terms of his coaching tree, he never shared information with his coaches. And in order for you to have a very healthy coaching tree, they have to learn, right, all of the different ins and outs and learn how to build a football program organization from the head coach and learn about the different strategies and the different mechanisms and the different tactics and why the different whys, right? As to why you're deploying this strategy or using this specific method. And Bill Belichick never liked to share that stuff. He always thought that if I give my coaches too much of that information, too much of the advantage that we have schematically, strategically, tactically, that when my coaches are poached, that ultimately the league will catch up to the Patriots. And they'll do it by taking our coaches and therefore taking all of our philosophical advantages. And I will no longer have that, that gap between the Patriots and everybody else. And maybe that was valid, but that also kept his coaching tree from thriving because he never gave his coaches, he never gave them all the information as to what made his scheme so effective and what made his leadership so effective on the other side. You go look at it, right? The Malcolm Butler situation, benched him before the Super Bowl, never told anybody, not even the defensive coordinator, not even Tom Brady to this day knows why they benched Malcolm Butler before the Super Bowl. Clandestine, secretive, organizational methods like Spygate, right? A library of illicit surveillance of other teams outed by his own former coach in Mangini. All right. He was into, basically athletic espionage to a certain extent. And he operated the Patriots like one of those three-letter organizations, three-letter acronym organizations like the CIA or the FBI. The agents themselves, the coaches never knew the reason they were carrying out those specific, tasks and responsibilities. But a great coach, he would let those coaches know exactly why he was pursuing that specific method or this specific strategy. And them as a coach, they would gain the knowledge and then therefore could use it and build upon the knowledge. The Belichick coaches never knew why. They were like CIA operatives. Just, I need you to go out there, perform the task. That's it. You don't need to know why you're doing it. And it blew up in his face when it came to his coaching tree because none of those guys, they never flourished. You go look at Andy Reid's coaching tree, John Harbaugh on that coaching tree, Doug Peterson's on that coaching tree, Sean McDermott, Ron Rivera, guys who got Super Bowls and won Super Bowls, guys who are still evolving and flourishing as coaches. Bill Walsh coaching tree famously. Hell, you got Mike Holmgren on that coaching tree. You got George Seifert. You got Mike Shanahan. Super Bowl Hall of Fame coaches on that coaching tree. Bill Parcells, Belichick himself, Sean Payton, Tom Coughlin, Super Bowl winning coaches on that coaching tree. Right? You go look at Bill Belichick's coaching tree. What do you got? Nick Saban in the NFL, not a success. In college, yes. Kirk Ferentz in college, yes, but no time in the NFL. Bill O'Brien, failure. Romeo Crennel, bomb. Charlie Weiss, bomb. Mangini, bomb. Josh McDaniel, bomb. Matt Patricia, bad. Maybe Vrabel, but Vrabel in the end butted heads with management, and Vrabel was out. And Vrabel's not even officially on the coaching tree, but he was one of the most successful ones. Joe Judge, bombed. And remember, Belichick, in terms of the secretive approach, He was so stubborn and secretive toward the end of his career. Remember, he brought in Joe Judge and Matt Patricia and those guys and didn't even tell them the positions they were going to coach. Remember, he didn't even tell them. They would tell the media openly, yeah, Bill Belichick will decide what we coach during the season. And because Bill Belichick knows. And I kept thinking to myself, well, this is a disaster. We're just approaching a disastrous situation here with the Patriots. And Bill Belichick is, I don't know, for either he's got his hand on the steering wheel and is fine with just going and crashing his legacy, or he's not paying attention and his legacy is already off the rails. And it could have been either one. But my point is, his coaching tree always been bad, always will be bad. And it's not because the coaches are all just terrible, but they were never developed as coaches because he never shared information with those guys. And that actually kind of aligns and tracks with him as a coach, right? Doesn't like the media, doesn't share information with the media, doesn't share information with his own team. He's not outgoing. You don't see him on podcasts. He's not writing books. He's not having lectures like Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh was professorial. Lectures, wrote books, was a broadcaster. Same thing with Bill Parcells. He was a broadcaster, member of the media himself, was an analyst for NBC. Andy Reid's very outgoing. Andy Reid's got a really good coaching tree because he shares information. You can talk to Andy Reid. Mike Shanahan's got a great coaching tree, not just including his son, but his coaching tree is great. Why? Because I talked to Mike Shanahan. He'll talk about football all day, give you all the secrets that you want. He doesn't care. You want to know about his own blocking scheme? He'll give it to you. Half the damn league has his own blocking scheme of the Shanahans, and they're running it because it's free information. He doesn't necessarily believe that he's going to lose his advantage as a coach if the rest of the league finds out about some of his secrets of the trade. Holmgren, outgoing guy. John Gruden on his coaching tree. Andy Reid's on that coaching tree. I think your coaching tree is a reflection of your personality and you as a coach and how open you are and how willing you are to share. And Bill Belichick don't like to share, and he ain't open. And that's why his coaching tree sucks. And you should never hire a coach from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Never. I honestly, at this point, I don't know if I'd hire Bill Belichick from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. He'd be the only one, but that's why it's bad, guys. He's just he's never been willing to share. This is the same guy that orchestrated Spygate, same guy to this day that has a playbook that he keeps, which nobody has access to. It's an amorphous playbook that he's been collecting strategies and tactics and schemes in since his day with the Giants, and nobody has access to it. Nobody. It's just Bill Belichick by himself. And that's fine to be that way, but that ultimately is why your coaching tree is going to be bad, because they're all trying to mimic and replicate the Patriot way. Remember, Texans decided to do it for years, the Patriots of the South, trying to mimic and replicate that Patriot way. And on top of that, they don't have the information. They don't have the secrets of the trade. He never shared them with anybody. I think he's taking them to the grave. Remember, Josh McDaniels was supposed to get him. That's why he gave up the coach job. He initially had the coach job and then left it because, Bill Belichick was going to share all the information. You were going to get the keys to the kingdom. Did he get them? Nope. Left to go to Vegas. Didn't work out there. He's taking them to the grave with him, guys. He thinks he's going to take him to his next job. Nope. He's going to take him to the next job, but they're not going to do him any good, because that's not the way football evolution works. You can't just try to hoard football information and secrets and think that's how you're going to keep your advantage. It's not the way it works. You have to evolve with the game. And Belichick never evolved with the game, which is why his offenses are terrible now. Because where's all the evolution taking place in football right now? Offense. What's the Patriots right now? What's their Achilles heel? Offense. What happened at the time Brady left? The offense left. Belichick is still great on defense, but there's no evolution happening on defense. They're still doing the same stuff on defense, honestly, guys, that they were doing in 1995. I can tell you right now, I'll break it down for you. Where the evolution is in the last 30 years, there's been tons of evolution on offense. Not that much on defense. About like 2 or 3 schemes. The 3 high safety. Ooh. That's about it.
No.
The offense, tons of evolution.
Nope.
He ain't keeping up with that.
No, but there's some 23-year-old girl who's going to have all the secrets.
Damn right. And that's a great place to end it right there. All right. Good point on that one. Hey, that's what Belichick is winning. God bless you, Bill. All right, we'll come back. I can't say he's not evolving everywhere. He's evolving in some places. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into who said that. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world. And based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, you have to identify and you have to recall who said that. We'll have that when we come back here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. One Artist Wednesday is the musically themed day of the week for us on Wednesday. And that's when Patrick goes deep into the catalog of one specific artist, band, or group. And today, that group is Led Zeppelin. They're the focus of One Artist Wednesday. So we appreciate Patrick hooking us up there. We also appreciate him hooking us up for the topic for the big fat poll of the day. That is posted right now on X at the Horn ATX. The topic is, which team in the AFC of those listed is the most overrated going into the season? You can leave, obviously, one below if it's not listed among the options, but your options were the Jets, the Texans, the Ravens, and the Dolphins, and 52% of those who answered the poll said that the Jets are the most overrated AFC team going to the season. I don't disagree with that. I think it's the Jets. That was my vote too. Jets are overrated. But we shall see. They did retool the O-line, and we'll see if Aaron Rodgers is healthy and plays anything like the Aaron Rodgers of old. They'll definitely have a shot. All right. Thank you, Patrick, for the topic for the big fat poll today. Let's get right to who said that. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, hopefully you can recall and identify who said that.
No team has ever done that, but the Chiefs will try to do that this year. Do you expect them to be back in the Super Bowl and win another one?
I've learned my lesson. I'm never betting against the Chiefs again. Okay, I will never bet against them. I lost a lot of money, but it's not up to the Chiefs. We all know what the Chiefs are. They got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Spagnuolo, Chris Jones, and everyone. It's up to everyone else. We need to see a Joe Burrow come out and do something, stay healthy, start fast. You need to see Lamar Jackson, who's been on a milk carton in the playoffs, so he's missing. And then, you got to see the other guys. There's going to be a dark horseman. But
right now, your money is on the Chiefs.
I'm going with the Chiefs.
That's a nice little jab at Lamar Jackson. He's been on a milk carton. That's Julian Edelman. Former Super Bowl winning wide receiver, but he's doing some analyst work there and saying, yeah, we know, and I agree with him, by the way. We know what the Chiefs are going to do. If nobody stops them, they're going to win a Super Bowl, a third in a row.
Yeah.
That's it. It's all about who's going to stop them. Who's up to the task? Which one of y'all is gonna put the cape on and stop them? Because if not, they're gonna win a third one and may win a fourth one. The way they're looking.
I would say as a Texans fan, he was not on the milk carton when he played us.
That is true.
He was the next week, but when he played us, not on the milk carton. Definitely. Yeah, when he looked pretty good in that when they
he did. I agree. He looked great in that.
Us.
But I want to say in his basically their average. I want to say they average like less than 20 points per game or something like that with him in the playoffs.
No, I agree. It's not.
Yeah.
There was one game though that I was like, oh, there's one that I know he showed up in.
Yeah. No, you're right. We're one of the. I think he's got 2 wins in the playoffs, and one of those is against the Texans. So I'm not one to talk. But CJ's got a win in the playoffs already. Those are not easy to come by. All right, we'll come back tomorrow talking tons of Texas football and NFL. You know how it goes. Thanks to my man Patrick. Thank you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We're talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until tomorrow, same time, same channel. Hook 'em and peace.